It is Pac-12 football presented by Opus Bank, where this afternoon the Stanford Cardinal visit Autzen Stadium and the Oregon Ducks. And with that, we welcome you inside the broadcast booth. Along with Anthony Herron, I'm Guy Haberman, Lewis Johnson along in just a few minutes. So, there's no conference championship on the game. There's not even a national championship game on the line here. But don't make the mistake of thinking that that somehow reduces the value of this game to these two teams.
No doubt about it, Guy. This may be the first time in the entire decade where there's not some kind of ring on the line. But when you talk to both coaches, David Shaw and Mark Helfrich, they say that momentum in finishing this season out is as possible as ever, and they want their teams to put their best foot forward.
All right, so as you look at what Stanford finally has going now, they feel good about the two-headed monster in the backfield.
Look at what they have available to them for the Stanford Cardinal, what we lovingly like to call the McLovin package. Christian McCaffrey dotting the I in this backfield set. Bryce Love in the slot. Two of the best playmakers that they have available to them. They'll fake the handoff on the interior to McCaffrey. Watch the entire defense suck down into the tackle box. And then the near 10 flat speed of Bryce Love on display. Also on display, his left tackle, A.T. Hall, over 30 yards down the field, blocking defensive backs. That type of effort is what's really led this Stanford offense towards some bigger plays. Need to find a way to pick up chunk yardage.
For Oregon, the headline of its offense is not a clever nickname, but two words: freshman quarterback. But it might not be what you think, because Justin Herbert has shown a lot.
I don't think he's just on his pace to be one of the best playmakers in the Pac-12. I'm talking all of college football. Justin Herbert has shown that type of potential as a true freshman. Put up sort of historic numbers. Touchdown passes he's tied in a single game. Passing yards with 489. He's also tied in a single game. When you're looking at playmakers towards the future of this Oregon Ducks program, Justin Herbert's going to lead the way.
Meanwhile, a fifth-year senior, the other big story for Oregon. It is senior day, and no one's had a longer, more winding road back to redemption than Farrell Brown.
Just the story of him being on the field is resemblance enough. I mean, it almost brings tears to your eyes when you think back 2 seasons ago to the fact that Farrell Brown may not have ever played football again. Not only is he back on the field, but it's turned back into that old school Farrell Brown playmaking form. Last 2 games, 12 receptions, 3 times he's gotten into the paint. Farrell Brown playing as well as he ever has. Well,
he got the loudest roar moments ago from this Autzen faithful as he gets ready. He knows they need to win. 3 games left for Oregon to get to a bowl. Stanford still a chance at double-digit wins. It's the Ducks and the Cardinal, and it's coming up next. It is nearly time for kickoff, but before we do that, let's welcome in the third member of our broadcast team on the field, Lewis Johnson.
One of the most elusive players in all of college football has made his way to Autzen Stadium. Last year's Heisman Trophy runner-up looks to be clear of his injuries, but today, as usual, he will refuse to be dinner for a defense that's trying to swallow him up. Any defense can identify with being a predator, right? And Christian McCaffrey seems to avoid being caught. This video you're watching went viral over last week, a spinoff of a Nat Geo clip that showed an iguana somehow avoiding capture by snakes that looked like they had every angle covered. Well, today, the Oregon defense hopes to have all of its angles covered when McCaffrey is on the field, hoping his ability to change directions, slither out of tackles, and explode with speed does not cause them to miss the meal they call a tackle. Now, by the way, this clip was created by Ryan O'Rourke. He's Stanford's in-house video producer, put it together last Wednesday, and in the first 24 hours, he had nearly 100,000 hits across multiple platforms, and Christian McCaffrey's Instagram blew up with 55,000 hits. Guys, I think snakes are going to be part of the storyline today.
All right, for a man that doesn't love snakes, Lewis sure watched that video a lot, Anthony. Oregon won the toss and elected to receive, and back deep, it's Charles Nelson who will kneel it down, and so the Ducks will start at the 25-yard line. And here comes the freshman Justin Herbert, making his 5th career start since he debuted against Washington a month ago.
Certainly fell off the pace as they faced the USC defense last week. The Trojans' offense and their freshman quarterback Sam Darnold has gotten a lot of deserved press, but what they've been doing defensively with Clancy Pendergast, that's part of why Justin Herbert struggled last week. I expect more today.
Jalen Brown getting the start at wide receiver at the bottom of the screen over Darren Carrington. And with the first carry, it's Royce Freeman, who did not start against SC last week. He gets a couple yards on first down.
You referenced Royce Freeman not starting last week. We weren't sure what the situation would be in today's game with Tony Brooks-James playing so well in recent weeks.
Freeman again. Thomas the first man there after a pickup of one, maybe two. Yeah, there's a man that's got the attention of the Oregon offensive line. Solomon Thomas lining up to the right side of that Ducks front. And it's 3rd down and 3. Herbert to throw for the first time. And it's in and out of the hands of his intended receiver, Pharaoh Brown. Okay, so the punt unit will come onto the field, a 3 and out for Oregon.
I believe it was Bobby Okereke who sort of flashed in front of the hands of Pharaoh Brown. Nice whip route working inside, and the ball got there to Brown. Just couldn't come up with the grab.
Such an emotional, we mentioned the loud roar that Pharaoh Brown got. That's unlike him there. You wonder if it is a very emotional day for him. The final game at Autzen Stadium for he and 17 fellow seniors. So our first punt, which means our first look at Christian McCaffrey, who back deep. It'll be Ian Wheeler from inside his own 20 to punt it away cleanly. And McCaffrey's going to fair catch it right at the 40-yard line. And so just a minute into the game, not quite. 28 yards on that punt. And so here's Keller Chris, speaking of young quarterbacks, making his 3rd career start.
With a couple of starts under his belt, my evaluation so far of Keller Chris is that he just needs to cut it loose as a passer. He's far more mobile, or at least he's shown more mobility than what Ryan Burns had showed while he was in the lineup. And to me, that's a big step forward for the David Shaw offense, because when Kevin Hogan and Andrew Luck have been quarterbacks over the past 8 seasons for the Cardinal, their mobility is a big part of what's made them successful.
Stanford ended its last game against Oregon State with 29 straight runs, and they'll begin here with the Iguana caught up in the backfield. At least on that play, the Snakes win.
Kind of like the intensity we see on 1st down, and the edge is set right there by Henry Mondu. Mondu ended up coming in on the tackle late, but the fact that he could knock the line of scrimmage back, moving the right tackle into the backfield, that allowed the pursuit angle for the rest of the defense.
A loss of 4 on the play. Rector and Irwin, the receivers at the top, with 2 tight ends at the bottom. Chris to throw. And that is incomplete, too low. It hit the ground. Irwin trying to scoop it up. And so it'll be 3rd down and 14 here for the Stanford offense. Henry Mondu again getting pressure on Keller Chris.
While Keller Chris, certainly an inexperienced player, mechanically, he seems to break down at certain points when he's in the pocket. One of the things he'll need to shore up as he continues to get more time on the field.
Completing under 50% of his passes so far this year. 4 wide on 3rd down and long.
Brady Hope told us expect aggressiveness from the Ducks defense. We'll see if they bring extra.
Here come 5. Chris steps up looking for Arcega Whiteside, who has it knocked away, broken up by Tyree Robinson, the junior. And so back-to-back 3 and outs from both offenses to start this game.
But Brady Hope said he really feels like this defense has started to play better in recent weeks. Part of the reason has been guys like Tyree Robinson, some of the vocal leaders in this lineup, a team that, you know, outwardly maybe there's thoughts of this being a lost season. But Hoke, Mark Helfrich, they've all said this team has continued to play hard.
Jake Bailey to punt with Dylan Mitchell standing on his own 25-yard line. That's got some great air under it. Mitchell will fair catch it at the 28. A 36-yard punt. And so the defenses each stand to start this game.
Back here at Autzen Stadium, taking a look at who PFF College ranks as the 3 most productive defensive linemen in the Pac-12 Conference. Couldn't agree more. Solomon Thomas, Greg Gaines, Hercules, Mata Afa. 3 different types of players, 3 different defensive schemes and how they try to attack the opponents. And overall, Solomon Thomas, not just one of the best in this conference, one of the best in the country. And he's shown that in just his 2nd year on the field of play.
All right, he's lined up to the far right of the formation, and he is in pursuit of Royce Freeman, who tries to turn the corner and gets dragged down. Justin Reed, the free safety, the first man there, along with Sean Barton. So how do you block Solomon Thomas if you're this Oregon front?
Send multiple bodies at him is a big part of that equation. And using 12 personnel, which is 1 running back, 2 tight ends for Oregon, gives them that ability.
Herbert pulls it down, slides to a first down to move the chains, the first down of the game for Oregon. And that's a little progression I think you've seen in his decision-making when he's running.
Without a doubt, just the decisiveness to tuck the football, get up the field, move the chains with your legs.
That ball snapped before the stick set. Barton got his nose in. Maybe if this was 2 or 3 weeks ago, Herbert tries to take on a safety on that play, Anthony?
Potentially. That's, you know, a little bit of the maturation that you need to go through as a quarterback, is finding the moments where you need to take on a defender versus those times where you can use that baseball slide.
Here's a second down, pressure coming right up the middle from Barton, out to Freeman, who nearly slips the tackle. It was Alfieri that ran him out. But one thing, talking to defensive coordinator Lance Anderson this week, I thought the way you put it to him was interesting, that there's no fluff with the way they blitz. There's no frivolousness.
Yeah.
To steal your word, Anthony. 3rd and 4. Complete. Darren Carrington.
Missed opportunities have been there for this Ducks offense with drop passes. We saw one in the previous series. Right on time. The ball from the right arm of Justin Herbert. Short grab from Carrington.
This offense moving at a good pace now to the 34-yard line. This is Tony Brooks James in for a yard. But to that point, what does that mean? Blitz frivolously, or not to blitz that way?
Well, you see a lot of teams around the country that can be at times a bit frivolous with the way they blitz and bring extra defenders, and it can put the back end of your defense in jeopardy. Stanford takes more of the mentality led by Lance Anderson, just to be sound on 1st and 2nd down before they attack with extra bodies.
Pressure here, it's Carrington again, slipping inside and finally getting tackled down by Joey Alfieri. Very close to another first down marker. It'll bring up 3rd down and about 2.
So the position it'll put Stanford's defense in more often than not is because they have very effective bodies up front with their odd front, their 3-4 package. They don't have to waste extra bodies coming downhill because they can dominate the line of scrimmage with 4.
Movement up front.
False start. Offense number 66. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Referee Mark Duddy, and the penalty on Brady Aiello, one of the 4 freshmen on this Oregon offensive line.
And no surprise seeing it today, because we've seen it essentially since Justin Herbert's been in the lineup. 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends. They have featured this at an exponential level by comparison to when Dakota Prukop was the quarterback.
2 tight ends that time. One of them was the lead blocker, and it doesn't do any good as Herbert is thrown backwards for a loss. Peter Columbayi among the host of Cardinal there, and so here Oregon will go for it on a 4th down and 7.
We've seen a lot of Justin Herbert from inside the pocket throughout today's game, and frankly over the last couple of weeks. I believe moving the launch point will be key.
Steps up, pressure, gets away from Alfieri, and is unable to get the ball to Pharaoh Brown, and so a turnover on downs. Alfieri with big pressure. And Justin Herbert and his Oregon Ducks stall out in Stanford territory. Time to go inside the integers on this matchup. It's been a long time, not since 2008. 8 years have both of these teams not been ranked entering the Stanford Oregon game. And it's a significant thing when you consider since then 17 bowl appearances going all the way back to 2007 combined. A lot of winning that they're used to. 60 wins apiece since 2011. Second possession for Stanford, and Daniel Marks makes his first appearance after 6 games injured, standing in front of Christian McCaffrey and leading the way into the hole as McCaffrey drags Tyree Robinson for a gain of 8 yards.
That's exciting. Daniel Marks, one of the best fullbacks in the Pac-12, been out of the lineup for over a month. Not only his ability to lead block, but his ability in pass protection as well. What they can do in his ability to help them protect the quarterback. It's just another safety blanket that they have available.
He's now to the top of the formation, and he'll go in motion in front of McCaffrey on 2nd down and 2. Two tight ends to the right. Here's McCaffrey. First down and more. Christian McCaffrey, the home run hitter. Christian McCaffrey is back. Touchdown, Stanford, 61 yards. The Iguana wins again.
It's that slight motion where they brought Marks back into the backfield, and then a great pull from Nate Herbig, the true freshman, coming from the strong side of the field, motioning to the backside on this power play, and McCaffrey so well blocked at the point of attack, untouched to the paint.
The conference's leading rusher is now over 1,000 yards for this season. Of course, coming off a year in which he was off the charts. 2019 rushing yards last year. And over 3,300 now for his career as Conrad Ukropina puts through the extra point.
Herbig came from the left guard, able to get a great lead block on the interior from A.J. Hotchkiss. From there, it's tail lights. Nobody catches the Wildcat.
You take a look at our Coors Light cold hard facts. Stanford picking up where it left off last week, and here's what's ahead and more opportunity for David Shaw's offense. Oregon 116th in rushing yards allowed. Cal dead last, that's 120 and 128, and Rice at 108. And keep in mind, they're coming off the best rushing performance in over 5 years. Went for 365 yards against Oregon State last week, and McCaffrey was 1 yard shy of 200 yards last week at Stanford.
Well, a play like that will test the belief of the Oregon Ducks. You know, they've got a lot of young players in the lineup, and we talked to Mark Helfrich about this, and that's been part of the test for this team in recent weeks. When something doesn't go your way, when the opposing team makes a big play, do you keep that belief in the system, in your teammates, where you continue to play with that extra heartbeat?
Jake Bailey to kick it off after another quick possession, and for the second time Nelson will kneel it. And you take a look at our Cooper Tires scoring drive. Those are Oregon numbers there. 2 plays, 46 seconds.
Well, when you've got a healthy Christian McCaffrey, those are the types of explosive plays you can expect. Stanford's been the least explosive team offensively in the Pac-12 this season. But conversely, on the field, the Oregon Ducks, they've got a defense that's certainly given up their fair share of big plays this year.
Well, the defensive coordinator, Brady Hoke, told us, I'd light up and run at us all day long. Now here comes Justin Herbert for the 3rd time, and he throws complete and connects to Pharaoh Brown into space into midfield, where Reed finally catches him. A pickup of 27 yards into Stanford territory. Brown had a drop on the first play of the game. He zeroed in now, it appears.
Well, it's what we covered in the pregame a bit. Some ball handling in the backfield, moving the launch point for Justin Herbert, and there, using Pharaoh Brown, making a play.
That time, Herbert tried to keep. He lost it, and Solomon Thomas picked it up. A fumble recovery and a Stanford takeaway.
For Oregon's offense, the mesh point on the handoff has to be just as sound as a simple QB center exchange if you were under center. That's just such a key cog in what they do, snap in and snap out. It looked like Herbert was attempting to pull it out, and you know, just that decisiveness, whether or not Royce Freeman is keeping the ball, penetration from Solomon Thomas, able to get the recovery.
Who is that on? Freeman certainly looked like maybe clamped down, maybe perhaps Herbert unsure.
It's so difficult to say either way, because just the cohesion of the two players at the mesh point really needs to work in time.
Reagan Williams, the fullback, Bryce Love into the game for Stanford. And he'll get his first carry of the afternoon. And he finds space to the outside. Swipes a defender down to the 31-yard line. A steady dose on the last 2 carries. McCaffrey and now Love.
Herbig again Left guard pulling to the play side. We'll see counters. We'll see power plays. It's a defensive front from the Ducks. It's a little bit light in the britches. Bryce Love out in space, eluding tacklers.
He had a 56-yard run last week, a career long, and he remains in the backfield beside Chris. The tight end Schultz is in the slot to the top with 3 wide. Chris looking, Arcega right side with the reception and the first down. And now early in the game, this is a real danger zone. When Stanford gets up 2 scores, they become very difficult to catch if they can just start running the football.
And watching Keller Chris command the huddle, one of the things that David Shaw wants him to continue to grow at is to quickly decipher the play in his head, get it called in the huddle, and then get them to the line of scrimmage so he can do this. Have a chance to look at the defense, see if he needs to audibilize.
Here's Bryce Love. And he'll pick up 4 yards. He's tackled by Troy Dye, the leading tackler, the freshman from Norco, California. On this Oregon defense, that's been part of the story. The freshman, Dye, Schooler, a bunch of young guys playing this year, and even more so as this year's gone on.
It's tough duty when your 2 best players defensively are both true freshmen. A couple of guys in Troy Dye, Brendan Schooler. You need to hit the weight room, need to get a bit bigger, stronger, more physically mature.
Schooler, the safety, to the bottom of your screen, just standing inside the 5-yard line. Here's a second down. Chris keeps inside pitch to the tight end Schultz, and it's Schooler that has to come out to make the tackle to save a potential touchdown, but that is a first down and 1st and goal now for the Cardinal.
This was pretty because watch Keller Chris work towards the field side, fake the pitch outside, knowing the defense will go towards Bryce Love, and then Dalton Schultz on the inside, really known as, in my opinion, the best blocking tight end in line in the Pac-12 conference, but they're showing the mobility, the nimble nature with the ball in his hands.
Here's McLovin, McCaffrey taking it, Bryce Love blocking, McCaffrey, touchdown, Stanford another. 10 touchdowns on the year now for Christian McCaffrey.
Well, not only are we going to see the center, Jesse Burkett, work out, but then the defense will flow with Bryce Love as well. So the exterior of the defense continues to work laterally. Great lead block there from Burkett, and the Wildcat able to cut off of that. His vision is spotless, snap after snap.
Ukropina out of the hold of Lloyd is good, and it's now 14-0 Stanford.
The ground and pound mentality of the Stanford Cardinal on display. A lot of guys with rough eyes moving the defense with extreme prejudice.
Take a look at our USAA conference leaders. Christian McCaffrey, the first Pac-12 rusher to break the 1,000-yard barrier this year. Myles Gaskin might very well get there before your afternoon snack today. 6 Pac-12 rushers went over 1,000 last year, Anthony.
This is, I'd say, the 2nd consecutive season where it's sort of been viewed as the year of the running back potentially in the Pac-12 conference. But injuries to McCaffrey, injuries to Freeman, you know, a lot of different backs around the conference have been banged up, and this time we haven't seen the huge number that were maybe expected.
Nelson back deep. He's already knelt twice. Make it thrice this afternoon. And let's check in with Lewis.
During that last Stanford offensive possession, the Ducks quarterback Justin Herbert was on the sidelines as normal, on the phone with David Yost, who's upstairs, talking with him about the last series. And as they did that, there were a couple of trainers around him who removed the glove of his left hand, put some sort of a Band-Aid, then a little bit of thicker padding over that left wrist, and then retaped the left wrist with some black tape. You may see that. And so not sure how serious that is, but again, talking with David Yost and having the left wrist attended to, we'll see how it affects him.
All right, thank you, Lewis. We'll keep an eye on it. Perhaps both wrists taped to disguise what's going on. Here's Royce Freeman running hard for 9 yards.
Looks a little more like the Rolls Royce we've come to know and love, because it's essentially a stretch play with the way it's blocked, where you're threatening the exterior of the defense, but then it's up to the ball carrier on an outside zone type of run to find the seam and get downhill.
Reed coming on the blitz, and he's the first man there. And he tosses Freeman for a loss of 5. Well, they love to bring him. They haven't done it maybe as much as they would like this year, Anthony, but you can see why they like it.
Without Zach Hoffpower in the lineup, he normally plays back in that second level in a lot of situations. Reed getting an opportunity in the backfield there.
Now Herbert on the move, floats it for Brown. Did he get in? No is the call. He was juggling the football. What would have been a spectacular play as Herbert took a huge shot from Bobby Okereke. The crowd reacting here at Autzen to the replay. Let's see, are they right?
Certainly bobbles it initially, and it does look like he's continuing to bobble as he ends up stepping out of bounds. Certainly everyone on the Stanford sideline was motioning to the official right away. Maybe worth another look on the field. Good extension from Pharaoh Brown, pulling it in. It just doesn't look like he was able to immediately seize control of the football.
This is now under review. Our replay officials, Jim Fogeltantz and Cleo Robinson. Mark Duddy just announced to the stadium that they will look at this, although it doesn't seem like there's going to be much there, as you said, Anthony, to bring it back. And nice defense as well. Should mention some credit to Ben Edwards.
Now, I'd say on both grabs that haven't been made clean by Pharaoh Brown in the game, it doesn't look like his eyes are following the football all the way in. It's a common mistake you see a lot of young football players, a lot of young receivers and tight ends make on grabs that maybe they feel like should be routine.
The ruling on the field is confirmed. It's an incomplete pass. The receiver was bobbling the ball when he came down out of bounds. 4th down.
So, punt. Second time that Ian Wheeler will punt away. His last punt went just 28 yards after a fair catch from Christian McCaffrey, who's already scored 2 touchdowns so far in this game, but does not have a touchdown on a punt return yet this year. And they try to take McCaffrey to the sideline, and it accomplishes that. Let's see where they mark this ball. It looks like near the 40, maybe just across it. Tonight, more college football action here on the Pac-12 Network. Oregon State, UCLA, that's coming up at 6 o'clock here on the Pac-12 Network. And both of those teams have some losing streaks they're trying to battle out of. You look at a stat that you would expect both these running backs to be high in.
And then Ryan Nall is the #1 player. Missed tackles caused in the Pac-12, according to PFF College. It's had a big season for the Beavs.
Another 28-yard punt, by the way, from Wheeler. That's a good starting field position for Stanford. Went 3 and out on their first possession, and then it's been a healthy dose of the run game. Mondu among the Ducks right there. So now we're getting into a realm, although it's still early in this game, of, and maybe the whole game started this way. We know what you want to do. Can you stop it? It seems like once Stanford goes up 2 scores, that even amps up another level.
Well, in this chess match of tempo is what's made this Stanford-Oregon matchup so fun over the years, because we know Stanford just wants to ground the opponent into mush and impose their will physically, whereas Oregon wants to utilize their tempo to score quickly.
2nd down and 9. Here's McCaffrey again. And Dye there. Mondu chased him down. And this is something we talked a lot about yesterday with Brady Hoke, the defensive coordinator.
You're basically trying to put Christian McCaffrey in a vice as you pursue. Went laterally very quickly, trying to overreach the defense. Oregon's defensive front just got into penetration mode. They did a nice job with the proper pursuit angles, not allowing the cutback.
A loss of 4. And now it's getting loud here in Autzen. In Stanford, they turned the speakers up to 110 this week to prepare. Here's Chris to throw. Good pocket, lofts it. Arcega-Whiteside has got it. Arcega-Whiteside, his 5th touchdown of the year. here. And the explosive plays have belonged to the Cardinal. Their second 61-yard score of the game.
J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is able to get behind Tyree Robinson. So he sort of did a press bail look where he initially showed man like he was going to get his hands on him immediately. He doesn't. Arcega-Whiteside runs by him, and then Tyree Robinson immediately gets into a trot. So just that level of intensity we saw prior to that on the shorter pass where he gets the deflection, shows passion, intensity. That same type of passion and intensity needs to be shown when he gets beat for a big play. You got to get in chase mode and make that tackle.
Ukrapina, 3 for 3 today. A 21-point first quarter. And Arcega-Whiteside now, Anthony, 14 catches, 5 touchdowns this year.
That's all he does. Catch touchdowns, pretty ball from Keller Christ. These are types of plays that he's missed. He hasn't been consistently accurate with the deep ball. You see Brendan Schooler hustling over from the safety position.
All right, let's get to Greg Wolf in our San Francisco studio with an update. Greg?
Guys, thanks.
Offensive coordinator Mike Bloomgren talking with Keller Christ, just threw his 3rd touchdown of the season. What are you seeing from the young man today?
Still imperfect, still some fits and starts. Mechanically, within the pocket, he looked better on the touchdown pass he just made there. Stood tall, knees didn't break down too much. The throwing motion, the way he delivers the football from his upper body is a bit herky-jerky at times.
Another touchback for Charles Nelson. Heard about Clemson there a moment ago. These are the remaining undefeateds. Oh, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but it will be impressive if Washington gets it done.
Without a doubt. I think the matchup they have today with USC is one of the bigger stumbling blocks I believe they've had in weeks, maybe since the Utah game, because the Trojans have depth at the skill positions. They got an offensive line playing much better, and so that matchup between the defensive front of Washington and the offensive line for USC is where I believe the game will be decided.
Stanford has scored on 3 straight drives, and Herbert to start this in the air to Nelson. He's got it a first down, and with forward progress, a pickup of 17 yards.
And that was obviously called as a pull for him at the mesh point. He knows the entire time he's going to pull it out, pass the football. So just that quick fake in the backfield. That's the Ducks version of the play action, different from Stanford.
Farrell Brown lead blocking. Royce Freeman swallowed up. Solomon Thomas, the leading tackler on this Stanford team. He already has a fumble recovery today. 2 yards on the pickup.
What's so impressive about the amount of playmaking that Solomon Thomas does is because he spends a lot of time in a very tight alignment. You'll see him there in a 5 technique or a 4 technique.
Brown against the pressure over the middle of first down. Justin Reed had to pull him down. And that'll move the chains for the Ducks.
You see him there, head up, tries to get cut off on the backside, able to play into the cut block, and then not only force Royce Freeman to cut back, but has the nimble nature to go make the play.
Here comes pressure off both edges, and that is slipped inside to Munt. First catch of the game for Johnny Munt, the tight end. Quentin Meeks there on the stop.
Tempo needs to be trusted. That word trust, the belief in their willingness to still go fast, even though they're down several scores. This is when the Ducks are at their best.
He pulls it in again, pumps, and Thomas is able to pull Herbert down as he picks up 5 yards. Eric Cotton on the tackle.
Well, Solomon Thomas came in with 7 sacks. For a guy who plays in that tight alignment, it's really impressive the fact that he's been able to get to the quarterback and get in the backfield as frequently.
Pressure from Alfieri up the middle, and it gets to Herbert too soon. He was looking for Brown again. Yeah, we've seen Alfieri in the backfield a lot today, Anthony, already.
It's asking a lot of 4 freshman offensive linemen against one of the better defensive fronts in the country to leave Justin Herbert in the pocket. The launch point, I believe, needs to continue to move for the Oregon offense.
Oregon 0 for 1 on 4th down today. I need to get to the 35-yard line.
Just a called sprint to the field side. Utilize that. You've got space to work.
Herbert looking for Pharaoh Brown. Instead, it's Munt to first down. Slips a tackle. Can Johnny Munt make it? Alfieri can't catch him, and Oregon's on the board. 41 yards.
The versatility that 12 personnel, the one running back, 2 tight ends allows you, because you've got people where the defense may think you're indicating additional protection, then you spread them out. Johnny Munt, part of the reason he's been on the field so much more in recent games, not only because of what he can do for a freshman QB, but because he's got that type of skill.
On senior day, he breaks through. A senior from Modesto. It is going to be a quick pass, and reading it perfectly is Reed. Wow. Justin Reed with Taylor Alley throwing the football. Who is the typical holder is Taylor Alley, so simply him being in the game does not alert the defense. Take a look at our Reese's go for 2 on the 2.
Well, Justin Reed, you know he's been schooled up on it. Let's check him. Eyes in the backfield, seeing it work the entire way. Almost able to take that. Could have put 2 points on the board. Here, this nice intermediate pass to Johnny Munt. You got 2 tight ends on the field, and so that dictates what type of personnel you're likely to see from the opposing defense. Doesn't just move the chains. Turns a first down into a touchdown.
What a big day it must be for him. We mentioned Pharaoh Brown, the senior, the 18 seniors for Oregon, and it must be a little odd to have your senior day. Still 2 games remaining after this one.
Well, that's a type of big play that can really help to spark Oregon in a certain way. We saw it on the last play. Highlighted Tyree Robinson. You know, he gave up a big catch, didn't immediately get into chase mode, didn't play with that extra heartbeat. Perhaps that big play from their offense, as we've seen over the years, can spark the Dutch D.
McCaffrey's going to bring it out, and he's got a head of steam. Tripped up. Nicely done by Fotu Leato, the special teams ace, on the tackle, and maybe he would have kept going. We mentioned senior day, Pharaoh Brown. What a great story for him to come back to 3 surgeries from the horrific knee injury 2 years ago, and his mother, Janetta Smith, a hospital nurse in Cleveland, who was a big part of his recovery, and he said a huge part of his life. The 2 of them, he says, it was me and her for my first 18 years, and it looked like, at least for the moment that we saw, they were able to keep the emotion together. Matt Logan, McDowell, Daniels, Cameron Hunt on that offensive line, the lone veteran, and Munt, who was broken through.
We weren't sure if we'd see Johnny Reagan on the field today for Oregon, but he returned to the lineup as well.
So now can the defense step up? Christ finds McCaffrey, who finds plenty of space. Gets another first down. A flag comes in here late. Kaspers was blocking for him. $12 yards if it stands.
As the pursuit came over, Johnny Kaspers was trying to get the block.
Personal foul, face mask, defense number 97. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
As Jalen Jelks was in pursuit, and he and Kaspers were both taking an angle, trying to beat Christian McCaffrey to the spot. As McCaffrey cut back, Jelks just reached out and yanked him by the face mask.
So with the penalty on top of the original gain of the play, it's 27 total yards. Net gain for Stanford, and that also puts the Cardinal into Oregon territory. Irwin and Rector at the top of the screen. Rector has not been targeted yet in this game. Christ with time floats to McCaffrey, who spins away and picks up 4, maybe 5 yards.
But Brady Hoke told us, Oregon's defensive coordinator, he spent a lot of additional time this week working with the defense on the way they pursue Christian McCaffrey. Almost like you would hear about teams do with Barry Sanders back in the Detroit Lions days, where you can't have everyone taking the same pursuit angle trying to beat him to the spot. You need to have people coming from the backside, forming that vice, because you know the shiftiness is coming.
Here's McCaffrey. More space. Swain is able to get there, but too late. A first down. Picked up by McCaffrey. Leoto, who made that special teams tackle, also there.
The Cardinals have no problem continuing to run the power play over and over again until the opponent proves that they're in a position to stop it. Those pullers on the way. You'll get a double team at the point of attack play side, pullers coming from the backside, a lot of mass and humanity working with McCaffrey.
Love back into the game, and Chris gets blindsided. Die with the sack. The team leader, he's now over 4 sacks on the season, the freshman, and Chris never had a chance.
It's got to happen for the Ducks D. Troy Dye needs to be one of the players working his way towards the backfield. He's their best playmaker as far as people with the ability to force his will on the opponent.
5 yards on the sack, and that is the end of what has been a big play first quarter. So Keller Christ will regain himself, and the Stanford offense will keep the ball. Well, we return. 2 scores for Christian McCaffrey, and Stanford leads 21-6 as we get set for the second quarter. Now, what is in a name? The Wildcat has many different names and many different programs. Of course, Tyler Gaffney led the Wild Gaff for Stanford, and it was an easy transition to the Wild Calf. But what about when you've got 2 guys, McCaffrey and Bryce Love? Anthony Herron, that's when you get McLovin.
No doubt. Love it. I McLove it.
And they were together earlier on McCaffrey's second touchdown. In fact, it was Bryce Love that was the lead blocker. Here's a second down and 15. After the sack by Dye, it's Christ with time. Rector's first catch of the game. Takes it inside the 25. Ugo Amadi on the stop. A pickup of 9, and it'll make it 3rd down and a little more manageable.
That's a good-looking ball from Keller Christ. Way to climb the pocket. He hit that 5th step. He sort of calmly climbed into the pocket. He tends to have to look at it just a hair longer than you may want to, and these are things that come with repetition where he can just cut it loose, where the ball can leave his hands with a little more anticipation.
Watson crowd getting loud again. McCaffrey beside Christ. Arcega-Whiteside, who scored a touchdown at the top. And whistles before this play gets off. It may have a false start, a delay of game, pardon me.
Delay of game, offense, 5 yards penalty, 3rd down.
What do you think? Hair guy? I think it just means Mr. Guy.
It looks like an... Whoa! Oh. Okay, now that's definitely an Adam Gordon original. There's no doubt. Our crew in the truck loves to have fun.
That was Don King on the right and Oregon pass game coordinator David Yost on the left. And it's louder now. 3rd and 11 for the young quarterback. He'll keep it here. Able to elude one defender, but Dye there again. Ugo Amadi along with Johnny Reagan. How about the young man who has only played 4 games this year, and we were a little dubious when they said he's going to play. Got injured in the Washington State game with a leg injury. You see that big brace. We thought he was done for the year when that happened, but that was not a token return today. He's on the field.
On the field and making an impact early.
48-yard attempt for Ukropina. His long is 52. We hit one of those last week. This one with plenty of leg is up and through. And a great year continues for Conrad Ukropina. Cardinal up big. Tickets to the 2016 football championship game at Levi Stadium are on sale now. Pac-12 North versus Pac-12 South. That's for the conference title December 2nd. You can get your tickets at pac-12.com/tickets. And for so many years, we could basically tell you, and you can see Oregon or Stanford in that game.
And think about it this way. If Washington loses today to USC and the Trojans come back and win the South Division, could be a potential. Pick it up after the return.
First return of the game for Nelson, and he gets whacked. Brandon Simmons. Let's go to our San Francisco studio for an update with Greg Wolf.
Yep. Right. I believe the reason Greg Wolf is so excited is because he knew what I was foreshadowing. If there's other carnage, if Washington loses today, there's other carnage, they will have an opportunity in the Pac-12 championship game. I'm not viewing the Dogs as counted out of the college football playoff picture as a one-loss team. Think about it. USC has finally gotten some of the respect for the 5-game winning streak they've gone on as the Trojans, so they're in the top 20. You lose to a top 20 team, you get revenge in the conference championship game. I think Washington could go down today and still work their way back into the top 4.
Here's a second down carry. Royce Freeman there. Let's take a look back at the big hit by Brandon Simmons on the kick return.
Didn't look like it felt good at all. Not sure if the earth moved, but it kind of felt like it. I mean, Charles Nelson, as he ran up in there, Brandon Simmons sent him back the other way.
Royce Freeman remains in the backfield on first down and 10. 4-man rush here. Herbert with time, and he throws complete. Carrington, he slips a tackle and then slips down, but he picks up a first down. He got away from Frank Buncombe, a pickup of 16 yards.
Just look at the quick arm action of Justin Herbert, how quickly the football gets from that little play action fake. The ball handling into the backfield and then quickly on the release point.
Freeman this time breaks away from Thomas, but he can't totally elude Ben Edwards back on the field after that big hit.
I like the way Royce Freeman's running the football a little more today, by the way, as well. It appears to have some more urgency to it, and he's looking north and south far more than I've seen in the last couple of games.
He didn't start, we mentioned last week against USC, as Herbert throws. Farrell Brown complete, a first down. 23 yards.
This is a thing of beauty. And the fact that he's able to stand tall in the pocket, protection holds up just long enough, even though Joey Alfieri was on his way to getting home. But that quick release, the decisive arm action of Herbert got the ball there on time.
Brooks James now will take the carry into the game for Freeman. Stiffs arm away from a man, slips another tackle, and finally gets ridden out of bounds by Dallas Lloyd.
This is a nice change of pace. It's a good cut because he pressed the hole long enough, and even though Mustafa Branch was in position, Tony Brooks James, nice quick stiff arm, able to step away.
So now first and goal after the field goal from Stanford. Oregon trying to respond. Carrington, the man in motion. Brooks James bounces it outside, now cuts it back and gets stood up at the 6-yard line after a pickup of 3.
We've seen Oregon have success with Justin Herbert in utilizing, again, we go back to 12 personnel, so having Farrell Brown, Johnny Mundt, using tight ends on drag routes, especially towards the front corner of the end zone.
The two of them that you just mentioned, those tight ends to the left of the formation. This is Royce Freeman feeling his way, nowhere to go. Harrison Phillips stopping it up.
The Stanford defense makes it so difficult on opponents, especially because of Harrison Phillips. You know, he's the reason that Solomon Thomas had to play nose last season. Phillips was out of the lineup. He's playing a lot of that zero technique nose right on the interior.
Jaylen Brown, the motion man. Herbert on third and goal. Pressure coming. Solomon might have drawn a flag. Herbert's going to run it in, but this likely is coming back, and Solomon is hurt. It was Calvin Throckmorton battling with Solomon Thomas, riding his back down.
Offense number 54, 10-yard penalty, replay, third down.
And that is the redshirt freshman, Throckmorton, but this is the larger concern. Leading tackler on this team, already affected the game in so many ways.
Solomon Thomas plays a very physical brand of football. He's had moments throughout the season so far where he's been a bit nicked up. Had to leave the game for a few reps.
So as they tend to Solomon Thomas, will step aside. 3rd and goal upcoming after the penalty.
A hush fell over Autzen Stadium as they saw, even though he's one of the opposing players, Solomon Thomas, one of the best players in college football, working the edge at that angle. And what he's trying to attain is a short corner. This is where his game is really improved, but that left foot, the outside foot, is where a lot of the brunt of the pressure of an edge rusher ends up being attained.
So here's a 3rd and goal after the penalty, and that is intercepted. Joey Alfieri, after it was deflected by Dallas Lloyd in the end zone for a touchback. Unbelievable play.
This is what's so special about how the Cardinal outside linebackers are asked to play, because they do so much for this defense. We've seen Alfieri make a big imprint as an edge rusher in the game already. Here, he has to trail the running back, Tony Brooks-James, out of the backfield as Dallas Lloyd comes in to help him out. Alfieri comes up with the fantastic catch.
His first career interception, and it's the circus type. This is one he'll never forget. Wow.
Well, he had no idea where the ball was at first, and Dallas Lloyd did a great job. He comes over under control at a good angle, deflects the ball, and Alfieri, ball ends up in his hands. He almost bobbles it away, but then able to maintain his body angle to stay in bounds as well. A very athletic play.
So it brings the ball out to the 20-yard line. He's saying, backfield, I like being in the backfield, but this being in the secondary. So here's Bryce Love taking the direct snap. Reagan Williams lead blocking for him. Somehow he gets away from the initial tackle of Mondu and is able to get out across the 30, a 1st down.
It's Cameron Scarlett in that position of the wild calf sort of mode in the backfield. Scarlett got more opportunities when either Christian McCaffrey or Bryce Love, both those guys have been banged up at different points in the season. We've seen Scarlett get his time.
So you're saying he doesn't get his own name for the formation?
Not yet, no.
Now this is Bryce Love, and he cuts it back. And he's got a 1st down before he's dragged down by Brendan Schooler. It's a steady diet of everybody right now.
You can tell the running backs are well coached, because while all of them have the speed to just try and turn the corner and be impatient with the hole, they run through the smoke. They're willing to trust that the block will get there, and they will press the hole, continuing to run vertical. Sometimes it means a 3-yard gain. Sometimes it means a more explosive run.
Chris with pressure coming, and he gets hit as he delivers too low. Rex Manu in to deliver the blow.
And Manu, while being one of the bigger defensive linemen Oregon has, he's very mobile, does a great job penetrating, especially interior gaps. Even though he's playing with that club on his right hand, I've been through that as a defensive lineman, where you don't have all your levers as well as you want them. You're not healthy enough with the hand to be able to grasp and clinch the offensive blocker. Manu's still able to make it work.
Big mover at 305 pounds. And it's now 2nd down and 10. And movement early up front from Stanford on that left side.
False start. Offense number 75. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
That's A.T. Hall.
And now they've got Stanford's offense behind the chains on 2nd down. So this the chess match for Brady Hoke, trying to determine, do I bring additional rushers? I think in this scenario, it makes sense. Try to speed up the process of Keller Christ and force him into a mistake.
Stanford went 3 and out on his first possession and then scored 3 straight touchdowns, 2 by Christian McCaffrey, who's behind Arcega-Whiteside at the bottom of the screen. Chris looking that way, and he's got Arcega-Whiteside, who with contact is able to make the catch and a 1st down in front of Tyree Robinson. We have Tyree Robinson down on the field as we take a look at the replay. He's number 2.
Robinson's been right in position on virtually every grab that Arcega-Whiteside has made.
So, as they look at the young junior, we'll step aside.
Back in Eugene, and a couple of injuries dominating the moment. First for Oregon, their cornerback Tyree Robinson, who just went down, was helped off the field. He is now back on the far side. And then for Stanford, number 90 Solomon Thomas, who was under the trainer's tent, came out of there with ice on his left ankle, and now sitting with the bench, but doesn't look like he'll be going back in. Guy?
All right, thank you, Lewis. So a couple ankles. The issue right now is Chris gets rid of the ball, or tries to. Mondu thinks he had him down for a sack. It's second down and 10.
Well, I'm not sure he's wrong. I mean, when you get home on a rush and you nearly have the quarterback down for a sack, you want credit for it. It looks like to me the left knee of Keller Chris may have been down before the football got released. Either way, big play from Henry Mondu.
Instead of a loss of 3, it's just second down and 10. That would have been his second sack. Reagan Williams, the fullback, leading the way for Christian McCaffrey left. Just shy of the 40, a yard. It'll bring up 3rd and long.
That was Troy Dye chasing from the backside. Another trap block. And all these times we're seeing pullers. What Oregon is hoping to accomplish, whenever that puller, if the guard from the play side starts to pull, whoever the defensive lineman is closest to that, they need to be in penetration mode and chase from the backside.
So that's an immediate signal to them. That pulling guard's an immediate signal.
With how they're operating defensively today, yes. Not in all schemes, though.
Tight end at the top. In the slot is Dalton Schultz. Rector at the bottom. Christ with time. Slips it to Arcega-Whiteside. Very close to a first down. He's got that. And he's down to the 25-yard line. Brendan Schooler on the tackle.
Far more impressed with the mobility of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I mean, he's only a freshman, hasn't played a lot of football, redshirt freshman from an eligibility standpoint. You know, we haven't seen him show this type of run after catch very frequently this season. He's been more of a red zone target using that big frame, but because of the fact that Francis Owusu's out of the lineup, as anticipated, now Arcega-Whiteside getting more opportunities.
Great high school athlete in the state of South Carolina, where he was Mr. Gatorade. Gatorade All-State player, track and field athlete, a basketball player. He was All-State there. Chris with time. He'll throw it over the middle. This time it's the tight end, Dalton Schultz, very near the first down marker.
It looks to me like Keller Christ mentally knows where to go with the football. He's just not trusting his eyes yet, and it's making things just a little harder than they need to be in the progression and his growth as a passer. Again, 3rd career start. These are things that will, you would anticipate come more and more with time. But Trenton Irwin was right there on the hash waiting for the football. There's an opportunity to deliver an easier throw early in that last snap.
Bryce Love is at the top of the screen as a decoy. McCaffrey is 3rd. No, it got broken up. Arian Springs just into the game for the injured Tyree Robinson, saving a touchdown.
I'll tell you what, it's a very simple thing that Arian Springs did, and all it required was effort, just finishing the play. You got last year's AP Player of the Year looking like an easy touchdown is there. Watch Springs come in at the last second before McCaffrey crossed the goal line, rake the football away with the right hand. Now the Ducks defense has an opportunity to play another down.
McCaffrey didn't have it clean, and Springs made sure he didn't get it back. Need to get down to the 4-yard line for the first, so McCaffrey in space away from Springs. Breaks another. Christian McCaffrey near the line to gain, and 3rd and short upcoming. He just takes so many hits.
Oregon knew coming in they had to get population to the football when Christian McCaffrey was there. No doubt, as the Snakes are in pursuit, the Ducks in this case, McCaffrey as the iguana on the move.
Arcega-Whiteside at the bottom. He has a touchdown today. He's caught touchdowns on 4 fades, but David Shaw's going to come running down the sideline to call a timeout with 8 on the play clock.
Stanford, their first charge timeout of the half.
Big 3rd down upcoming.
Check out comparing through 9 games. Last season, 66% completion for the Cardinal throwing the football. This season, down below 60. And this is an offense that should throw at a high rate of efficiency with the run threats they have. They've given up 27 sacks. That's just unheard of for a Cardinal passing attack.
Third down. Keller Christ had 60 total passing yards last week. He's more than doubled that number here. After the Stanford timeout, Arcega-Whiteside matched up at the bottom with Arion Springs. I need to get to the 4 to pick up the first. And now David Shaw is going to call another timeout. This time with 13 seconds on the play clock.
Stanford, their second charge timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
Well, what we thought would happen, has it happened? Not exactly. Stanford picked to win the North in the preseason media poll. Washington 2 with an Oregon 3. Washington right up there. And then it's Washington State. What's been the Stanford Oregon game, the game that you think might decide the North, now is the Apple Cup this year.
If they can continue to win towards that point, you hear pretty much every network that the Pac-12 Conference has a partnership with looking towards that Apple Cup between Washington and Washington State. You know, obviously the Colorado-Utah game in the South Division, a huge one in that final week of the regular season as well.
Arcega-Whiteside has come out of the game after that timeout. Christian McCaffrey is not on the field.
Well, this
Oregon's defense.
This isn't full ogre. This is more their jumbo look.
Nick Wilson wears 96. He is the added, or one of the added offensive linemen at the bottom. And now whistles blow. Is Oregon taking a timeout?
Oregon, their first charge timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second charge timeout.
I think does Oregon believe they were not alerted that they needed to come out of their timeout? David Shaw just took back-to-back timeouts, and now Oregon has taken one. Mark Helfrich is hot about it. They had players streaming onto the field as Stanford lined up. Stay tuned for the State Farm halftime report. Greg Wolf, Nick Galliotti, Ronnie Lott, Eric Allen. A lot of defense in the studio. First half analysis of this one. How about a Darnold versus Browning preview? That's going to be fantastic. Two of the best young quarterbacks in the country, plus highlights from around the top 10. That's all coming up. The State Farm halftime reports. So there you go. Darnold, Browning, and that's when you said it's going to be very difficult. SC back in the top 20.
It's going to be a fun watch. It really will. Sam Darnold, a second-year player, redshirt freshman. Jake Browning, second-year player, true sophomore starting.
20 touchdowns, 1 interception. Maybe the best touchdown rate in football, college football history for Browning. So, will we have a 3rd and 3 play run? We've had 3 straight timeouts. Chris looking to Rector, too easy. Touchdown, Stanford. With McCaffrey off the field on 3rd and short, the Cardinal go to the air.
And I referenced how I felt like Oregon's offense should move the launch point more frequently for their quarterback, Herbert. Here, very nice movement of the launch point, just a sprint action. And as long as you can throw in rhythm, the accuracy, the timing, it gives you a great chance with a half-field read.
Official Mark Duddy, the referee, discussing. Is there a flag thrown? Stanford with 30 points in less than 2 quarters. Just incredible.
The ruling on the field is a touchdown. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, offense number 3. 15-yard penalty. This is number 3's first unsportsmanlike conduct foul of the game.
And 2 mean disqualification.
And Michael Rector trying to figure out what I do.
Too much celebration. So they'll enforce that penalty on the kickoff, which means that Stanford will move 15 yards back and kick from the 20. After Conrad Ukropina tries to add to his Stanford record for consecutive extra points made out of the hold of Lloyd. 94 in a row for Ukropina, and it's 31-6 Stanford.
Michael Rector, he's at his most comfortable when he's in a position to sort of slide and cradle the football in. He's had some fits and starts throughout his career, just catching the football in rhythm on stride with his hands.
Third touchdown for him. Let's check in with Lewis.
Well, beyond the hash marks is our weekly trek away from the field for important stories, and perfect timing off the Michael Rector touchdown. This Cardinal wide receiver is taking full advantage of his Stanford experience away from the game, exchanging his jersey for a lab coat, preparing for a future in medicine. Rector is a human biology major, and for the last 2 summers, he spent some time in the stem cell lab research program. He is aspirating a petri dish to get millions of cells at the bottom that needed to be counted. One of the many things that Michael Rector is doing in a graduate level, state-of-the-art stem cell lab program. Remember, he's an undergrad doing that, all to prepare for his future and those days after he gets done doing what he's doing today, which is catching touchdowns for the Cardinal. Pretty good stuff.
Great, Lewis. You think a football playbook is complicated? Then you watch what Michael Rector does in his free time.
I mean, my summers, I'm trying to recall what I did my summers in college. I did a little bit of road work.
Yeah.
Certainly worked out quite a bit, tried to stay in shape. There was no stem cell research going on from there.
After the penalty, kick from the 20. It's understandable, right? I mean, the amount of time it takes to be an elite level athlete, Anthony. You'd understand if there wasn't much free time. As keeping it from going it out of bounds is Nelson to bring it back up. He's got a good return here for him, and he'll get out to midfield.
There's certainly been a few missed opportunities for the Oregon Ducks. As Justin Herbert had a big day passing the football from a yardage standpoint, 173 with a touchdown. The Cardinal defense, 7 QB pressures, 2 takeaways, one of those down in the red zone, taking points off the board. 2 different 61-yard touchdown runs. One of those courtesy of the Wild Calf.
They've had 2 plays of over 60 yards. They had 60 yards passing all of last week against Oregon State. After Nelson's return, it's Royce Freeman getting pursued towards the sideline and getting pushed out of bounds after maybe a gain of 1. Alameen Murphy, the cornerback, eventually pushed him out.
Well, just think about the last offensive series, how that finished for the Ducks. Throwing the interception into the end zone where they're thinking maybe there's a touchdown opportunity. So you go from maybe 24-13 or 24-14 to now 30-1-6.
Throw back to Farrell Brown, who patiently waited for a block. And we'll see where they mark this ball. Very close to that first down mark. It looks like he got it. 14 points off turnovers. It's not that Oregon, you're right, it's not that they haven't moved the ball. They haven't been able to finish the 2 drives they took down into the red zone. So here's a first down at 10, and it's Freeman again, getting a block to the sideline. Royce Freeman is caught down at the 2-yard line. Justin Reed saving a touchdown.
But God, this is where first downs have the potential to turn into touchdowns. Look at Jaylen Brown outside. Great cut off of the block from Jaylen Brown by Royce Freeman. He's tight-roping the sideline, but the hustle from the Cardinal run him down.
Royce Freeman, 1 touchdown away from moving into the conference's top 10 for scores. Did he get it here? Yes, he did. Royce Freeman into the end zone, his 9th of the year.
That's a quality finish to the drive, because you see Oregon at the skill position, and they're known as a group that's able to block very well in space. They stalk block the defensive backs. Royce Freeman picked up chunk yardage and then able to finish the drive.
After Charles Nelson set it up with a 38-yard return, he saved the ball from going out of bounds, which of course automatically puts it at the 35, and instead capitalized and took it to the 50.
Under replay review.
So Mark Duddy just saying that The call on the field a touchdown, but it is under replay review. It took the officials a few moments. His teammates immediately signaling touchdown for Royce Freeman.
As he takes the give from Herbert, Freeman immediately going north and south, driving his legs. The elbow is down. The question will be, as the elbow comes down, whether or not the football itself has crossed the stripe. Has he just pierced any portion of the stripe?
Keep in mind, we mentioned Jim Fogeltance and Cleo Robinson are replay officials also with the games here at Oregon. The mission control, so to speak, a replay in San Francisco, also able to help. The command center, as it's known. And I asked Jim Fogeltance what that means for him, and he just said it just means more help, which is good.
And who can't use more help?
And who can't?
Elbow down there. Again, the elbow going down, but whether or not just the nub of the football is all that needs to be across the stripe.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field of a touchdown stands.
So not enough confirmed would mean they absolutely looked at it and felt comfortable with it. Stands means not enough to make a decision that would change the ruling on the field. Devin Allen with a towel.
Speaking of help.
That's right. Oregon went for 2 after its first touchdown and failed. Taylor Alley to hold here for Aiden Schneider. They had a fumbled snap in an extra point situation last week. This one's clean. And so 13 on the board now for the Ducks.
Let's check the big play that happened on the drive that got them down inside the 5. Royce Freeman going north and south, and you see the bodies of the Oregon Ducks. Maybe they're not driving defenders all the way back, but stalk blocking, getting in the way, allowing one of the more talented runners in college football the opportunity to crease the defense. And let's go on spec, taking a closer look at Royce Freeman and his NFL potential. I believe he's built for durability. When you look at the height, the thickness in the thighs, he's a player that's capable as a pass receiver as well. He doesn't need to go out into the slot and start running routes, but his hands have been showcased throughout his career, and he can punish tacklers. He maybe hasn't consistently done that with the vision at all times, but once he gets north and south, I believe, by comparison to another former Duck in Jonathan Stewart, who's got a very similar frame, right there around 230 pounds, 5'11", very similar in build, similar in running style. I think potential for a similar type of career for Royce Freeman at the next level.
So now it's his defense's turn with Christian McCaffrey back deep. And the kick will send McCaffrey backwards and out of bounds. We saw the numbers there on Royce Freeman, as Stanford will start at the 25, but we saw the numbers there on Royce Freeman. The 14 carries, already more than he had last week. We've mentioned it a couple times. He did not start that game in place. Tony Brooks-James got the opportunity, but one thing the coaches told us this week, that Royce is Tony's biggest fan. They thought he handled not starting very well, and it seems as though he's responded to whatever challenge they gave him.
We think about the level of humility that's necessary for a guy who rushed for over 1,300 yards as a true freshman, over 1,800 yards last season as a true sophomore, All-American, Heisman candidate coming into the season. He's been banged up throughout the year and got to the point where even though he was healthy, his teammates started over him, and to be able to handle that well shows you the type of individual Royce Freeman is.
Here's the wild calf. The quarterback, Keller Chris, is at the bottom of the screen, direct to McCaffrey, and he'll follow the blocks of a fullback in a line, clearing space for 9 yards. We've seen a number of men lead in the backfield. Reagan Williams getting that opportunity. Daniel Marks has played there today. And now Williams will come off.
There's probably folks at home wondering, why can't you stop that? Because when Christian McCaffrey's in the backfield, you know he's going to carry it. But when you have that runner behind center taking the direct snap, now the defense is outflanked from a numbers standpoint. It's difficult to have enough bodies to account for that extra runner.
McCaffrey churning. Man, he is such a load. It's funny to hear you talking about on spec with Royce, to hear people talk about, is he big enough? Is he strong enough? He takes hit after hit after hit and always seems to be going forward whenever he does go down.
Both these guys, both Royce Freeman and Christian McCaffrey, I've been covering them since they were in high school. Both played in the U.S. Army Bowl. McCaffrey was maybe not as physically mature as Royce Freeman from a size and thickness standpoint, but certainly from a schematic, from a technical standpoint, extremely mature with his vision and his all-around purpose ability.
On first down, chasing from the backside, Justin Hollins. Number 11 there for the tackle. Pickup of 3 will make it maybe 2 yards, make it 2nd and 8.
When you think about the next level, that all-purpose skill set is certainly what the tailback position in the National Football League has gone towards. You know, that's what's in vogue. You don't necessarily need a guy to carry it 30 to 35 times, as we've seen McCaffrey show the ability to do here in Stanford's offense, but you can use him like a LaDainian Tomlinson, Marshall Faulk type of player with that all-purpose skill set.
Nick Wilson and Schultz, the 2 men that move the formation to the near side to pave a way for McCaffrey, who gets near midfield, whistled down at the 49-yard line. Henry Mondu.
Let's go on spec with Christian McCaffrey. As I mentioned, the NFL comparison, LaDainian Tomlinson, elite short area vision was just on display on that snap. Pressing the hole, not needing to bounce to look for the big play. That all-purpose reliability, because you can utilize him in so many different ways, and enough big play speed. He's not a 4-3 guy, as some people say, but he doesn't need to be. Being a 4-5 guy is plenty of speed to hurt defenses when you've got his type of vision.
He's over 100 yards for this game now at 103 with 3 yards to go for the first. Chris looking, Rector, who just caught the touchdown, a first down reception. It was Arion Springs in coverage.
The all-purpose skills don't just stop as a runner, as a receiver. Let's check the AP Player of the Year from 2015 in pass protection. He's got a linebacker coming off the edge right there in perfect position, hands inside, and then drives him away from his quarterback.
And now a little tempo for Stanford. Chris just dumps it over the middle, and there's Schultz again finding a spot for 9, maybe 10 yards. It'll be about 9.
There's an Oregon body that's actually still down. The umpire sees him down there near the ball.
Might that be, and it is, Johnny Reagan, who has not played since the Washington State game, was injured in that game. That left leg, you see the big brace. He returned on this senior day. That Washington State game was back October 1st, and they thought at the time that he might be done for the year, and so it was certainly a thrill when he came back on this day.
They've said that Johnny Reagan has worked really hard, spent a lot of extra time with the trainers, getting treatment, trying to get himself back as close to playing as possible. It was certainly a pleasant surprise to see him able to return to the lineup here. He's a guy who transferred from Cal after his freshman season, so he hasn't been here for, 5 years throughout his career, and being here in Eugene that entire time. But it didn't take long before he turned into one of the leaders, especially it was necessary this season for their defense.
He comes off the field, and Stanford's having a great day through the air so far. For 2nd down and 1. Pressure coming. McCaffrey runs right to where the blitz came from for a first down inside the 15-yard line.
The puller able to just seal that edge away. The oncoming blitzer from the outside, Troy Dye. David Wright does a good job wheeling him out of the hole. McCaffrey, of course, makes the proper cut.
McCaffrey has 2 touchdowns. Irwin blocks, and McCaffrey's in again. 3 scores. And Stanford has 37 points in just 1/2 of football with an extra point coming.
It's just uncanny when you watch the ability of Christian McCaffrey to cut off of these blocks. The offensive line is just dominating the point of attack. Then as he advances on the second level, able to continue to have forward momentum moving as he's cutting laterally. That's a rare ability.
And that, again, we've seen quick scoring drive at 3:24 for Stanford. Here's Rapina to make it 38. And he does. And keep in mind, Stanford's going to have the ball to start the second half as well.
Johnny Caspers on the move. Jesse Burkett on the move. Elephants on parade. Moving defenders out of the way. No bodies available as Christian McCaffrey gets into the paint yet again.
9.4 yards per carry. He came in. He was hot when he came in. He had 368 yards rushing in the last 2 games. And 200 well in his sights today.
His coach David Shaw sort of scoffs at the thought that Christian McCaffrey's had a down season.
Right.
Because he hasn't had those otherworldly sort of numbers like he put up last year, setting all-time records and going beyond where Barry Sanders was from an all-purpose standpoint. That certainly was going to be difficult to repeat just from a sheer number standpoint. But aside from the statistics themselves, just look at the productivity the last few weeks and how the entire team has played even better. The defense has been there for Stanford throughout the season, but it sets up the rest of the offense as productive as he is.
3,496 all-purpose yards, the FBS record that Anthony mentioned last year. Over 2,000 rushing. For the most part, Nelson's been pinned back on kickoff by Jake Bailey, and that happens again. Here's what's still to come as Stanford leads comfortably here. We mentioned that USC, Washington, that big heavyweight fight. A lot on the line, 2 young quarterbacks in big spots. Oregon State and UCLA both trying to end 4-game skids. Somebody there will. Meanwhile, Colorado, how about the year they've had? Number 12 in the nation. Sefo Lufau has been good since he has returned. And then defense on alert. Look out. Pac-12 after dark. That could turn into Pac-12 at sunup. Here's Royce Freeman breaking a tackle, still running hard. And Freeman again, it's Reed that has to come chase him down. Just as he did on the last series. Freeman had scored a touchdown Oregon's last possession. He thought he got hit late. Can the Ducks get downfield here with 2 timeouts remaining already to the 50? Herbert. Tony Brooks James. And he'll go out of bounds, shy of a first down. And again, the Autzen crowd thought that maybe a hit came late, and now a flag is down. Dallas Lloyd and Sean Barton, a lot of chatting. That was Barton and Brooks James talking.
It was a nice subtle cut that Tony Brooks James made back to the inside, knowing he'd still get to the corner.
After the play, personal foul, defense number 29. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So 9 plus 15. It was 9 on the game plus 15. That's a big gainer for Oregon.
One of the things I normally love about the game with Greg Lloyd is that he usually plays under control. There, he initially contacted the runner inbounds, but then as they were both out of bounds, he still slung him to the ground. That's where the flag came.
Oregon getting down the field very quickly here. And still have 2 of their timeouts. Now Herbert slips away. And now he'll slide down, gives himself up at the 20-yard line is where that slide began. And Oregon will use one of its timeouts. I have 1 remaining now with 14 seconds.
Herbert, as he looked towards the sideline, he saw there was an opportunity here, one-on-one at the top of the screen. You watch him operate from the pocket, and there is where he knows he wants to try to deliver the football to, because as Greg Lloyd starts towards the top of the screen, there's Pharaoh Brown. Brown had the angle on Dallas Lloyd, but Herbert didn't cut it loose. And really, if you throw that towards the sideline, maybe it even ends up out of bounds as an incomplete pass, but the clock stops if you do it that way, as opposed to having to use one of your final remaining timeouts from taking off and running.
2nd down and 2 coming up. Royce Freeman standing beside Herbert. Pharaoh Brown's at the bottom of the screen. 3 to the top. Herbert looking that way. Pressure coming, and he just slings that ball as he was nearly sacked down. Get out of the pocket. Officials discussing. And they first discussed whether or not it was a forward pass. It was incomplete.
Stanford comes in leading the Pac-12 in sacks. with good reason. They're very technically sound. Great pass rush mechanics from their defensive front, finding opportunities as well to bring additional blitzers.
And whistles blow this day. Stanford does not have a sack yet today.
Before the ball was snapped, the previous play is now under replay review. The ruling on the field was an incomplete pass.
All right, so Mark Duddy back to throw the headset on. The officials conferred briefly initially. Check on where that throw started, where it ended. Could he have been sacked is the question. And the answer to that question is? Take that as a yes.
Left knee, right knee, yes. Both appeared to be down as he was in the grasp.
Harrison Phillips will get his 6th sack then. If it's called as it appears to us, and that would also be the first sack of the game. And for Harrison Phillips, he had a streak of 4 games in a row with a sack end last week, but starting it right back up. And we talk about the injury. Solomon Thomas, last we saw him, Lewis told us, had the ice, the shoe was off, the sock was off on his left ankle. That means more responsibility for somebody else, and maybe Phillips picking up some of that.
Phillips does a really nice job as the nose in this scheme. He plays what's known as the zero technique on a lot of snaps, where you head up on the center. It's tough duty for the nose on the interior, sort of match stepping with the center and trying to eat up that block, and quite often having to take on those double teams. But yet again, another player that with the physical brand of football he plays, also able to get into the backfield.
After review, the quarterback's knee was down. The play is dead at the 24-yard line, where it'll be 3rd down. Oregon is taking their 3rd and final timeout, so the game clock will start on the snap on the next play.
So a loss of 5. And Phillips does get the sack.
And Oregon doesn't necessarily have players at the skill position who are adept at the jump ball. We've seen certain situations where Darren Carrington has been best at it because he's got
using their 3rd final timeout, so the game clock will begin on the ready for play.
Because Carrington has exceptional body control, and so if you can get a back shoulder opportunity in throwing the football, then maybe that's their best shot. Or perhaps you can just kick it.
So Mark Duddy just told us they did not use their timeout. Which leaves Oregon with 1.
And it is still 3rd down.
Yeah.
Seconds, 12 seconds.
Put 2 seconds on the clock.
I'm surprised. I'm not completely following the logic here. If they do kick the field goal on 3rd down,
maybe if they didn't have a timeout, you'd understand a little. So now they are going to use a timeout. Okay, so because the clock. So now they're taking the timeout because the clock was going to start on the ready for play after the sack instead of on the snap after the incompletion.
I'm just surprised they wouldn't have at least attempted a pass with 12 seconds remaining in the half on 3rd down. You try a pass towards the end zone. Maybe you get it, maybe you don't. Assuming there's not a turnover on 3rd down, then you come back and attempt a field goal. Now, we have seen them make turnovers here in the red zone in the first half, but at this point, you're down 25 points.
We've seen Royce Freeman, you don't necessarily have to throw with the timeout. We've seen him break long runs in this game. He had a 37-yarder earlier.
But Mark Helfrich has certainly taken his fair share of criticism for being too aggressive in certain situations. Here he takes the more conservative approach.
41 for Aiden Schneider. Out of the hold of Ali. And that, with plenty of leg, is going to miss to the right. And so a bit of a convoluted last 15 seconds for Oregon results in no points. And it doesn't get any easier. Stanford will have the ball first to start the second half. Lewis on the field with Coach Shaw.
Well, Coach, you told us this week that explosive plays would be really important. Your thoughts on how you got off early, 3 of those with Christian McCaffrey touchdowns?
Well, you know, that's what special players do. And he's not one of those guys that gets run down late in the year. He was banged up early, but he's gotten fresher and fresher. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside makes a great play also. Our guys are playing really high level right now.
And then the flip side of that is that you have to control their explosive plays. They crawl back into the game. What would be your message here at the half?
Well, that's the thing, is not to give them anything. They've got some great players over there with speed and explosiveness. We have all the respect for the skill positions they have up there. We have to continue to play our game.
All right, super. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Guy?
All right, Lewis, Keller Christ having a fine day so far. 13 of 18 for 189. But the story, Christian McCaffrey, 130-plus yards and 3 touchdowns. Stanford leading 38-13 right now. Coming up, our San Francisco studios, and standing by with the State Farm halftime report is Greg Wolf. Time now for the Can-Am game summary. 14 points off 2 Oregon turnovers. Solomon Thomas a fumble recovery. Joey Alfieri an interception, his first of the career. Royce Freeman's had a very nice game, but it does not compare to what Christian McCaffrey's done so far. 131 yards, 3 touchdowns. Lewis Johnson told us before the game, he showed us the video that Stanford put together, but we've put it back together again. Anthony Herron, just highlights from this game.
Phenomenal work from the video department in the truck. The iguana that is Christian McCaffrey. The yardage he's put up throughout his career has just been unreal, and we've seen it on display again today. The Snakes, trying to catch the Wildcat, have not been able to get it done for the Ducks.
That's been fantastic. Anthony Herron, Guy Haberman here with you at the half. Lewis Johnson on the sideline.
Galapagos Island?
That was the Galapagos Islands.
Okay.
That's right. My only question is, what animal would be in your college highlight tape?
Ooh, that's a good question. Maybe a gazelle?
Gazelle.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would match the video. But he's been fantastic.
He really has. Yeah.
McCaffrey, you think about what he's been able to do today, and it's crazy, Anthony, because you say, all right, he's getting hot. What does that mean? You don't expect, it feels like, even when you expect him to be great, it's hard to fully predict the stuff he does.
In addition to Christian McCaffrey getting hot, the offensive line of the Stanford Cardinal have gotten their game on today as well, and they've really dominated, not just moving the Oregon defensive front backwards, but they've been able to operate with precision. You know, these counters, these power plays where it requires back blocks, double teams at the point of attack, these pullers. And one of the ways that Stanford pulls is with their shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage. So there's a precision to how the offensive line is executing now that really wasn't there early in the season, even with a healthy Christian McCaffrey.
And Stanford scored on a Christian McCaffrey touchdown with 37 seconds remaining in the half. Oregon missed a field goal attempt at the end of the second quarter. And Stanford, who lost the toss to start the game, will get the ball first, and McCaffrey will let it go out of the back of the end zone. And let's go back down to Lewis.
Well, talk with Mark Helfert's coming out and ask him what could they build on here in the second half. And he said, well, look, we've got 313 yards of total offense, but only 13 points, so we got to find a way to score, but we have to fix the drops, the penalties, the missed assignments, all those things that have been giving them trouble. And on defense, the misfits in their defense, which have led to some big breakaway missed tackles, and then we saw those crazy runs. Now, his quarterback, Justin Herbert, we saw him in the first half take some big shots like that one. Coach said that he is okay. And the biggest thing for this young quarterback is to trust what he sees, and he says sometimes that's hard for a young QB.
All right, Lewis, it's defense up first. Christian McCaffrey pushed backwards just as he was on the first carry of the game. Khalil Oliver in pursuit. That's been the challenge. You think, I would imagine you come into a game against Stanford, Anthony, you think, all right, we're going to put up 313 yards offense in the first half. We'll be right there. That hasn't been the case for Oregon.
It certainly hasn't. And Justin Herbert, you know, you certainly understand he's a true freshman. You got to think back to the fact that Herbert wasn't even with this team last spring. We've seen an advent of a lot of the freshmen leaving high school who arrive early, get spring football in. Herbert's just been with this team since the fall.
Here's McCaffrey again. And again, the Oregon defense ready and able to stop him up. And it'll be third down and just about 15 coming up. And this is almost exactly the way the game started for Stanford on offense.
We've seen the Cardinal offense going backwards. I asked Brady Hoke what would be a good word to describe the mentality of how he would call the game. He did say the defense would be in an aggressive mode, both with the way they penetrate, with their attitudes, with the way he would call the game. Let's see if that aggression's on display here. It doesn't look like they're going to bring extra blitzers.
5 on the play clock. 4-man rush. Chris to Irwin. He can't bring it in. It would not have been first down yardage anyway. And so the second half for Stanford begins just as the first half began, with a 3-and-out and a punt.
And that was another situation where Keller Christ had Trent Irwin open, just didn't quite get the football out of his hands as quickly as you would like. That allowed the defense an extra moment to converge on where the football was being delivered. Troy Dye did a nice job just flashing in front of the receiver.
Jake Bailey to punt from the shadow of his own end zone. And this has got some good hang to it. And it's fair caught, and then it hits the back of an Oregon player, and it's recovered by Stanford at the 40-yard line. Sean Barton is the man that fell on it. Malik Lovett gets hit square in the numbers after the fair catch signaled by Dylan Mitchell.
Lovett, of course, having no idea where the ball is, but you have to be able to get eyes towards the return man. He's so focused on trying to block Brandon Simmons, has no idea where the returner's at. Not only the waving of the fair catch, but some verbal communication could be necessary there.
This is the first and only sideline warning of the game.
I believe that was on the Oregon sideline. Remember, for those who you hear it sometimes, the halo. It's not a halo. Right. It's just a yard at the width of the receiver's, the punt receiver's shoulders. And Stanford did not penetrate that distance on the kick protection. And so another turnover, the third of the game, and it leads right back to McCaffrey spinning inside the 25-yard line.
It's such a luxury for Keller Christ to be able to hold the football as long as he's able to, when the offensive line is able to set up that type of wall where he can be that comfortable to pump the football and to look off receivers over and over again and climbing the pocket. And then Christian McCaffrey on that drag route that just took so long to develop, and no defenders anywhere near the quarterback.
And just because I said it with a Ron Burgundy question mark on it, it was sideline warning on Oregon. Not a sideline warning on Oregon?
Stay classy, guy.
Sideline warning on Oregon? All right, 1st and 10. It's very kind of you, Anthony. Chris, it's McCaffrey that picks up the pressure, and again it's Schultz who's he's finding space in between the hashes over the middle today.
To me, he's one of the most effective tight ends in the Pac-12. He's a dominant blocker at the point of attack, but he's got this type of ability. It's just about the quarterback position, continuing to grow to utilize the tight end position as we've seen in past years. There's been so many playmakers at that inline position that have gone on to the National Football League. I believe Dalton Schultz has that type of ability. It's nice to see that featured more in recent weeks.
4 catches for him today after just 1 completion to a tight end last week. Love to the left, McCaffrey to the right, and Christ is going to keep it, and then he's going to loft it into trouble. No, it gets to Rector. Touchdown over the fingertips of Ugo Amadi. A flag, however, is down back at the 26-yard line. If it stands, it's Rector's 2nd touchdown of the game.
The ruling on the field is a touchdown. Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense. The defender hit the quarterback below the knees.
So how about that?
Well, Keller Christ was leaving the pocket. He had a defender in pursuit. I believe it was Henry Mondu.
The 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
So Stanford will kick from midfield. C.J. Keller to snap it to Dallas Lloyd. And you Ropina makes it 21 points off turnovers here in this game for Stanford.
Let's take a look back. Special teams moment, Malik Lovett. Ball hits off his back. Great recovery for the Cardinal. Late hit coming here. Henry Mondu goes low on Keller Christ, but doesn't thwart the Cardinal from the dime that's dropped to Rector.
All right, time now for our Taco Bell in-game leaders. And how about Keller Christ having a headliner kind of day? Arcega-Whiteside impactful, all four of those catches coming in the first half with a 61-yard touchdown. And then Michael Rector now, 2 of the last 3 scores have rested in his hands.
He's got big-time speed, but they actually haven't needed it for the touchdown passes he's caught today. It's been more about his precision with the way he runs routes down in the red zone.
A roughing penalty on the last touchdown. That's why Stanford kicked from midfield. Let's take another look at it.
Well, it didn't stop Keller Christ from being able to leave the pocket. You'll see quick ball action here into the backfield as Christian McCaffrey comes across. Rector will work the 7 route just towards the corner. So the defense for a moment will see the reigning AP Player of the Year. And then as Chris leaves the pocket, he throws that teardrop in a very accurate pass as Rector works towards that back corner of the end zone. There you see Mondu coming in, hitting the quarterback low. Flag comes out. But the pass, I believe, was probably the best we've seen Keller Christ throw all day.
And so now his defense on the field. And it's Royce Freeman. He'll pick up 2 yards on the swing pass. So are you seeing, one thing that David Shaw told us this week regarding Keller Christ was he saw some progression last week that doesn't show up in the box score. He thought he made some quicker decisions. Obviously the numbers as Freeman battles to bring up 3rd down and short, the numbers significantly better, Anthony. Are you seeing any steps today? Obviously that throw, as you said, the best you've seen from him.
I am. I see progress from Keller Christ on the field. You know, there's still some inconsistency with mechanics and with the timing of his passes, but that's just going to be the case with young football players who haven't been on the field as frequently. But overall, we see him grow from one week to the next. His knowledge of the offense, his comfort of delivering the football.
First down, Pharaoh Brown, and then he pulls up, grabbing his hamstring. And we hope that he's okay. Obviously, anytime he goes down, it sounds alarm bells. The horrific knee injury 2 years ago. Worked his way back from 3 surgeries. And this team will go back to the site of that Rice-Eccles Stadium next week.
It's a one-handed grab, a very nice catch from Pharaoh Brown as he turns to head upfield. And, of course, a non-contact look.
Well, good to see him walking towards the sideline. A first down for Oregon. What a fantastic day. Of course, here at Autzen, it hasn't rained since 1990, as they say. Not they. Don Essig, the great PA announcer here. And a big first down after Pharaoh Brown helped off the field. Jalen Brown on the reception.
I'm going to say something here the Duck fans are going to get angry at me about, but there's a lot of things about Justin Herbert that remind me of Marcus Mariota. Just the quick, sharp throwing motion, the way he delivers the football. He's a little bit bigger than Marcus, certainly not as mobile, but there's things that you're very comfortable with in thinking that he's got big-time potential.
Peter Columbai runs Royce Freeman out of bounds, and he had the big hit on the play prior. And now we see Pharaoh Brown, who was holding his hamstring as he walked off the field under his own power, now headed towards the locker room. You see him grab again.
And part of the difficulty for a quarterback, especially in this system, this spread option where you make pre-snap reads and a lot of post-snap reads as well. But the time it takes for the information that you process to go from your brain and then out through your arms and through your legs, it's so key in helping the tempo that we know Oregon likes to operate at. It's key in all that decision-making that's going on for you to be as efficient as possible. It's tough duty. And for this kid, Justin Herbert, who's from right here in Eugene, Oregon, only been around this team for a few months, I've been very impressed.
Nice blitz pickup by Tony Brooks-James as Palmer was bearing down towards the end zone for Munt. Alfieri came in with no picks. He's got 2 today in the end zone. Unbelievable.
Justin Herbert saw the one-on-one opportunity outside between an outside linebacker and a tight end. So Johnny Munt at 6'4", 240 pounds. Looks like Alfieri's in trouble, able to come up with the pick.
Time now for the 76 fueled moment. Not one, but two interceptions for the Portland native, Joey Alfieri, in the end zone today.
Alfieri found himself in a similar position 2 different times here. Matched up with a 6'4" tight end, and Munt looked like he had the advantage at first, but the interior position from Alfieri able to box him out and then rip the football away.
Stanford has converted all 3 of its previous turnovers into points. That was the 4th turnover of the game. Alfieri never had a pick. And not only does he have interceptions, these are not deflected balls to the line of scrimmage that pop into the air and fall into somebody's lap. Degree of difficulty is off the charts for this guy.
And a really effective pass rusher, there's no doubt about that. For him now, adding this flair to his game, and it's why the outside linebacker position for Stanford is amongst the more difficult to play within their scheme, because they ask them to do a lot.
Christ will keep, but Swain is going to bring him down behind the line of scrimmage after a loss of 2. It'll bring up 3rd down and a long 2.
Another chance.
Second down, excuse me.
I'm sorry, partner.
Let me try one more time. 3rd down, Anthony.
You got that right, sir.
Back at
Correctamundo. Like Arthur Fonzarelli, but another 3rd down opportunity for Oregon's defense to get off the field here. They came into this weekend as a number 11 3rd down defense in the Pac-12, partially because of so many different players in and out of the lineup, not having defensive linemen who've been in these positions very frequently. Can Oregon find this as something to build off of, this moment in the game?
And now movement, and I think David Shaw is going to take a timeout to avoid the delay.
Timeout. Stanford, their first charge timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second charge timeout.
I'll say this, guy, with Keller Crisp, I like the way he's been throwing the football in the 3rd quarter, even better than in the first half. His numbers in the first half were fine. What I've seen so far in this half is hitting, whether it's the 3rd step, the 5th step, and as soon as his back foot touches the ground, we see him in a more decisive fashion, driving the ball towards his intended target. So as I was talking about that processing of information that it takes for things to happen quickly and in rhythm, I feel like so far in this quarter, Keller Crisp is in a pretty good rhythm.
All right, so 3rd and 2. Rector and Irwin at the bottom. They take one of the fullbacks and one of the tight ends off the field from the previous sequence, and they give it to Bryce Love right up the gut into space, and Stanford's been running all day across midfield, and Bryce Love has been little used, relatively speaking, but when he's carried, he's gotten huge yardage.
And it's been clinic tape from the Stanford offensive line. You know, early in the season, there were some new bodies in the lineup for the Cardinal. People weren't completely sure whether or not Stanford would be able to run the football as we'd seen in the past. But having guys in the lineup and even growing the lineup with the likes of Nate Herbig, Brandon Fanica when he was healthy, they've got so many big bodies that they've continued to roll into the lineup. They've gotten better and better throughout the season.
Into the game now, in the middle to the right, Tywan Thomas, number 13, the receiver. Christ is going to pull this down, a flag down, and that pass gets deflected. Mark Duddy.
Holding, offense number 20. 10-yard penalty, replay, 1st down.
Later tonight, Mike Yam, Lincoln Kennedy, Nigel Burton recap the day of college football. Final score presented by Microsoft. And the big question there is, what kind of mood will Lincoln Kennedy be in?
Oh, yeah.
The Washington Husky. So after the hold on Bryce Love, 1st and 20. Chris, here's McCaffrey. Again, he gets away, and it's just more of what you said. Get him the ball, see what happens. And third down is now somewhat manageable. Be a long 7, maybe 8 yards to go.
Well, some guys look more like the lava lizards of the Galapagos Islands.
Oh,
he certainly got the full-on iguana happening.
Hold
as
on.
He evades the what?
Were you doing lizard research over there?
Well, you know, with the lava lizards, they can breathe through their eyelids. I don't know if you knew that, guy.
No, of course I didn't know that. I said third, 2nd and 8. Fumbled snap, crisped, and now it'll be third down as Jalen Jelks, the sophomore, is able to jump on him. Be third about 14.
Very low snap. Kelly Chris does the right thing. Recover the football, get on it. Don't make a bad play worse.
Throw his towel.
Play with an unnecessary scarf around your neck.
You saying it's not cold enough?
A lot of things going on down there. No, this is football weather. This is third in Portland. This is Jalen Jelks, an opportunity. He's really stepped his game up lately as an edge rusher. Let's see him get after the quarterback.
He's coming at the top as Chris steps up. Contact made. Arcega-Whiteside. He's been a big play maker today. His 5th catch of the game. He's well over 100 yards, but another flag. Hold on.
Holding, offense number 75. 10-yard penalty, replay third down.
A.T. Hall.
It was actually Justin Hollins that was bringing it off the edge that I circled there. See him coming from the right side of your screen. There's Hollins working against A.T. Hall. Does a nice job. Hollins decreases his blocking surface by just dipping that left shoulder. When you can dip the inside shoulder against an offensive tackle, very difficult for their big bodies to try to rush down at that same pad level you are as an edge rusher.
One thing you'll have to say for Oregon, the penalties have been an issue all year long. Not in a major way today. Here's McCaffrey, and he takes a big shot. That was Swain. Jimmy Swain, third on this team in tackles. And he's been all over the field today.
Let's check this out in live motion. Oh. And slow motion. Ooh. Good grief. Way heavy on him, Jimmy Swain.
So now 4th and 16. And that means another punt. Jake Bailey. Looks like Dylan Mitchell is back at about the 10-yard line to receive. Haley try to drop this one in. Fair catch at the 20. What can Oregon get going here? The duck moving like Christian McCaffrey. Free space and easy riding today. A 3-touchdown day for Christian McCaffrey, and he's been the man that's led the way. He hit the first home run, 61 yards to start this game with a score, and Stanford was off and running. After the punt now, it's Herbert back to the field, and Munt can't hang on. It would have been a first down, and it's incomplete.
We saw a big play in the first half from Johnny Munt. Took a short pass, took it the distance. A couple of missed opportunities here. You know, the last ball on the last series, it was intercepted by Alfieri. It was a bit underthrown, of course, but a lot of drops here today from the Ducks.
Big pile up inside. Eric Cotton, his 2nd tackle. But another flag. Cameron Hunt unhappy, 78 there about something. The lone upperclassman on this offensive line, a senior, surrounded by 4 starting freshmen, the only team in FBS to have that up front.
The result of the play is a third down. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, offense number 78, pulling the player off of the pile. half distance to the goal, 3rd down.
There's been no shortage of intensity for Cameron Hunt at any point this season. There's that fine line that you walk, and he certainly had his own share of dead ball penalties this year.
He comes out of the game, another flag down on 3rd and 19, and that's complete to Darren Carrington. This is starting to feel like the beginning of the SC game last week.
Personal foul, chop block, number 28 and number 79. Half the distance to the goal, replay 3rd down.
Shuffled the offensive line a bit. Yes, and Vollert is the player who ends up picking up the flag. He's there on the interior and actually called it on Vollert, but it really should have been on Throckmorton, as I thought. 54.
So 3rd and 24. That's now 6 penalties on the day. And here's Freeman. And he gets pulled down by Mike Tyler. You mentioned the penalty issues, and the SC game started so herky-jerky for them with the penalties. They averaged 7 a game, or they had 7 in that game. They're almost 9 per game, which is at the bottom of FBS football. They're 127th out of 128 in penalties a game this year. And you combine that with some of the missed opportunities, and we saw a few series where they were unable to finish with the turnovers today. That's just a bad recipe.
Offensive line and defensive backfield, I would say, have been the 2 key cogs with a lot of the penalties the Ducks have picked up this season.
McCaffrey, fair catch at the 44. Greg Wolf in San Francisco.
What do you got, Wolf? Good stuff, Wolf.
I think you scared him. You jumped through the microphone. You didn't know that was coming. Anthony Herron on the blindside blitz.
That's why I get Greg Wolf a 5-Hour Energy sponsor. Some decaf, Wolf.
Look at that, 450 yards today to nearly 318. Been blown by, and really it was early. Stanford established everything that Oregon feared most today. They'd be able to move the ball at will on the ground. That's too high for Rector, who does have a couple touchdowns today.
Potential jumbo we see coming on the field in the huddle for the Cardinal. You referenced earlier, guy, Nick Wilson, one of the players who normally rolls at guard, but they put the number 96 jersey on Wilson. In fact, they've got Daniel Marks back in at fullback. It's the point in time where Stanford can get into that personality they like.
They ran 29 times to finish the game last week. Here's Bryce Love. He had a big run moments ago and another as he just keeps churning down to the 25-yard line. And this is about where they started to just run and run and run and run on Oregon State last week.
Let's see Johnny Caspers, their most experienced lineman, from the right guard position. Works down the line. Shoulders are parallel to the line of scrimmage. Normally you'll see offensive guards turn and run and their shoulders to be perpendicular. The reason he does it in that situation is to make sure if any penetration, any leakage comes, as all those down blocks are coming with that blocking scheme, then he's in a better body position to try and pick it up.
This is Cameron Scarlett with Bryce Love at the bottom of the screen, taking the direct snap. Second carry, and Scarlett just got tripped up, shoelaced, and he picks up about, let's call it 3 yards. A.J. Hotchkins, the man that slowed him down. Scarlett had an 11-yard run earlier in the game, and now Love, who remember missed the first game of the year against Kansas State, will limp off. He had an ankle injury that kept him out of that game.
I used the term raw thighs earlier, meaning the beef that Stanford has on their offensive line. Those big bodies. This is the point in the ball game where their will. And one of those guys, one of the guys with the raw thighs, meaning they're just thick in the lower body. So a guy like Nate Herbig, a true freshman, who's already well over 300 pounds. They call him Big Island. So for him, as he breaks the huddle, the guy who's only been starting for a few weeks now, but he breaks the huddle with all these other big bodies next to him, and then you got the guys with the high pockets on the other side, the thin lower bodies of the Oregon Ducks. And so now that you got this huge lead late in the third quarter, you know Stanford is likely to run the football in most situations, but it's difficult to do anything about it.
This is Scarlett again. And Brennan Scarlett puts his head down, and he's got a first down. Well, just when I thought all the good nicknames stopped being handed out 50 years ago, you drop a Big Island on Nate Herbig. 351 pounds, 6'4" from Hawaii.
I can't take credit for Big Island. That one he came in with. Now, the raw thighs and the high pockets, that one goes to my dad. He used to always talk about that with athletes. And, you know, for me, I was a raw thigh guy. I've got very thick thighs. That's why I can't buy pants off the rack. That's what the Stanford offensive line is like. A lot of raw thighs where your legs are so thick and everything's just rubbing together down there.
Here's Scarlett on the pitch, nicely blocked up, and he's going to score. Touchdown Stanford, and they break the 50-point barrier. Cameron Scarlett, his first career touchdown.
Raw thighs, moving high pockets against their will with extreme prejudice. This is the point in the ball game where that offensive line for Stanford just breaks the huddle, licking their chops.
And a big hug, because for Scarlett, a big day. His first career touchdown, and he does it 2 hours away from home in Portland. Well, the Portland kids have had big days today. Alfieri, 2 interceptions. Luke Rapina from Pasadena, 52. Let's go down to the field. Lewis.
Hey, Guy, so far this season, we've seen several players with some impressive hurdle moves. And, you know, they become automatic replays, and we love slow motion because, oh, look at that. You can just really enjoy the move, and sometimes we like to be critics. And you got to see this one. Check out Christian McCaffrey elevating on this play against Oregon State last week, and the helicopter crash to the turf. Now, to be clear, this is what hurdling should look like. Look at the top of your screen on the right in the yellow. That is Oregon wide receiver Devin Allen earlier this summer at Hayward Field, a few miles from here, winning the U.S. Olympic trials in the 110-meter hurdles. He got to the Olympic finals and finished 5th, which is an incredible accomplishment. And Devin Allen is good enough to come over here as he's dealing with this injury. I know, first of all, you had the ACL and the surgery. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm about 6 weeks out. Feeling good, moving around a little bit better. I'm starting to lift again, so I'm starting to feel better for sure.
And you know, when you watch some of the other players try and hurdle, this is what they should be going over, which these are about 42 inches high, about the same height as your kitchen countertop. What are the most fundamental elements of hurdling? You can't do it.
Really just jumping high enough, especially in a football game with a defender. The best way to hurdle is when they go low. So usually the bigger guys like tight ends, big running backs get the chance to hurdle. Usually someone like me about 190 is not going to have to go, the defender's not going to go low on me, so I'm not going to get the chance to hurdle, and that's why I don't hurdle anybody yet.
Yeah, hang tight. Let's go for the kick.
All right, the short one. Which will get it right back out to about the 25-yard line. Dylan Mitchell shoved out, and back down to Lewis.
Well, Guy, it's the dive, which is the most important thing, right? Got to get that lead leg up, right? And then the dive.
Exactly. I think with that, if you don't get the lead leg up, they're going to catch you. You're going to get flipped usually. So a lot of those guys, they've kind of mastered that. You see, like some of the guys in the NFL, Ezekiel Elliott, you could tell he was actually a hurdler in high school.
Right.
So you know, you can see some of those guys that do it right. And a lot of guys just go for it, and sometimes it's natural. Maybe I should have picked track.
And when you get back on the field, do you think that's something you'll be doing, trying to hurdle over people, or do you leave that for the track?
Yeah, we'll see. I try to stay away from that just because I don't want to get flipped. Yeah.
All right. When will you be back, by the way?
A few months, probably about 4 or 5 more months. I'll be back and ready to go.
All right, Devin, we look forward to seeing that. Good luck with the continued recovery.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, Devin Allen, Olympian for life in the 110-meter hurdles. Got it?
That's fantastic. Thank you, Lewis. A flag down here as Tony Brooks-James breaks it outside. And while we wait on this penalty, and obviously, boy, Tony Brooks-James very unhappy that is going to get wiped out.
Holding, offense number 83, 10-yard penalty, replay first down.
I will say this, and I mean this sincerely, Anthony, it's so cool to walk around in a track and field hotbed like Eugene. You walk around with Lewis Johnson, the number of people that come up to him and want to talk track and field. When we walked around the facility yesterday, the hurdles look too high, if the hurdle looks too high and you don't think you got 13.31, 110-meter hurdle in you like Devin did, maybe try and go match Lewis's personal record in the 800-meter. Anthony, it was 1:47.
Wow.
And it looks like he can still do it. Here's Herbert after the penalty, racing out of bounds across the 40 and picking up a first down. No flags.
You actually had my personal best in the 800? I'm impressed.
Yeah.
And I'm also depressed because I'd love to lie and say that I ran 145.00, but because of instant information, I can't do that. So you got me. That's the correct personal best.
My question is, how close is Lewis? How close can he get right now? Because it looks like he can still run a 1:47.
I saw Lewis in the weight room. Saw him in the weight room yesterday. He still got it.
Here's Herbert stepping out and keeping 4 seconds on the clock before the expiration of this third quarter. What a long day this has been for Oregon. These games have so often had so much on the line, and although it's not a Rose Bowl,
That's the end of the third quarter,
or the Pac-12 North, or a top 15 ranking on the line today, so much expectation coming in, and it's just been a tough one for the Ducks and a great one for the Cardinal. It is Pac-12 football. It's the Ducks and the Cardinal. First down and more. Christian McCaffrey, the home run hitter. Touchdown, Stanford. Irwin blocks, and McCaffrey's in again.
The ground and pound mentality of the Stanford Cardinal on display.
Well, welcome you back inside the booth. Anthony Herron, Guy Haberman. There's no secret about brute force, and Stanford has exerted will today.
The hammer has met the nail at Autzen Stadium today, and the hammer has most certainly been the offensive line of the Stanford Cardinal.
To begin the fourth quarter, Stanford's defense, who it looked early like maybe Oregon would be able to hang in as the Stanford offense struck quickly, but takeaways for the defense today, 4 on the afternoon. And that's with half of this game being played as Tyler gets in for the sack. Mike Tyler, his first full sack of the year. But this is all being done with Solomon Thomas on the sideline. He was injured about halfway through the second quarter. And as Lewis showed us, he had ice on the ankle. And it doesn't seem like the Stanford defense has bent much since then, even without Thomas on the field.
They sure haven't broken. no doubt about that. And, you know, hopefully the injury to Solomon Thomas, not that bad, but there was no reason to bring him back into the game today. They had it well in hand.
Ian Wheeler. And a fair catch made by Jay Tyler. First time into the game. On a beautiful day in Eugene, Stanford in charge. Well, 52-13, and Keller Crisp has been fantastic, Anthony.
There were previously moments where there was hesitation over the first 2 starts of Keller Crisp. We're seeing him start to free himself up. One of the adjustments they made, eyes downfield on the play action now, evacuating the pocket, knowing where Michael Rector's going to end up. Now just cut it loose, Keller Crisp. Put it right on the money.
18-25, he completed 10 passes for 60 yards last week. Well over 200. And he's throwing here. The first possession of the fourth quarter for Stanford. It's Donald Stewart with his first reception, his second reception of the year for the freshman in his career, and 1 catch against Washington State.
Teamwork on display at field level. Teamwork up here as well. You know, that package we just saw run. Our guy Sam Polis up here holding it down throughout the season. Great job getting that put together.
Second and short. Here's Scarlett. First down for Cameron Scarlett to move the chains and out to midfield. You are right, though. The sheer volume, the effort. But it's not just brute force. It's like Stanford. It's got to be smart too. You got to be clever. And so many great people putting this game together at all the games.
Are you crediting Sampolis with intellectual brutality? Is that where we're headed?
That's exactly where we're going.
That would fit.
Scarlett again. And maybe a half yard. Of course, yesterday was Veterans Day. It's never too late to say thank you for all of those who have served and allow us to have the kind of fun we're having today. And some of our crew members with military service as well. Mike Scoville, our EVS operator, served in the Navy. David Theobald on camera in the Marines. Jory Randall, utility in the Army. Steve Kinney, our mobile unit driver in the Army. And how about also the son of our graphics producer, Jason Armeno, Bill Armeno, becoming a Marine. This is fantastic. So thank you to all of you on this crew.
Jason Armenio, I have no idea how he has a son old enough to already be in service.
He hasn't aged.
Certainly, if he has, he's aged well. I'll say that.
Defies math.
I'll give a quick shout out to my dad as well. Right. Robert Herron, served in Vietnam in the infantry, came back in one piece.
That's fantastic. Lewis Johnson, his father served as well. 2 weeks before his graduation day. Got the letter, came back, and became a lawyer. Father Dan in the Air Force. Thanks, Dad. And Scarlett.
You know, I can't wait to get to Thanksgiving in a couple of weeks to tell my dad thank you in person for his service to the military and the Army, and specifically, you mentioned it, undergrad student at Prairie View A&M, and 2 weeks before graduation, he gets his draft notice and he goes and he serves. And so thanks to him, and as you mentioned up there, thanks to all of the veterans around the country. We so appreciate you all, everybody.
Well said. 4th down and 1.
Full on ogre. 4-point stances, crouching down.
And it gets stopped up.
I think the High Pockets might have won that battle against the Raw Thighs at the LOS. All right, there, line of scrimmage, not much movement there. But Caspers pulls, he's driving, but there's already penetration from where the puller was able to leave his space. That's precisely what we talked about earlier, where you want to find that little crack, that crevice, to be able to penetrate your way into the backfield. Well executed by the Ducks defensive front.
And so a turnover on downs, but just too little too late, it would appear. Of course, Oregon came back from a 21-point deficit at Cal earlier this year. Royce Freeman out towards a first down, but this is not 21 points, and this is not Cal.
Correct on both accounts there, partner.
Freeman again's carried a heavy load today. That's now his 20th carry. "16 straight games that Oregon's been in a game with 65+ combined points. That's an FBS record. However, their record of scoring at least 20 points in 39 straight games is in jeopardy. As Brooks James, with the pursuit still hot for this Stanford defense. They scored exactly 20 last week, did Oregon, against SC. And that 39-game streak of at least 20 points is the longest in the nation. And by far and away ahead of Oklahoma State. And we'll see if they get to 40 today, although that would not be much solace.
We saw them have to help Tony Brooks James off the field. It appeared he was hobbling on the same left leg where he had the lower leg injury last week against USC.
Game timer, please reset the clock to 10:01. 10:01.
Here comes pressure up the middle and from the edges. Herbert on the move, and that's broken up, a flag down. And it was Alameen Murphy who got his hand in on the pass.
Before the ball was thrown, holding, defense number 34. 10-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Peter Columbai. There's Mark Helfrich. We mentioned Lewis's father, your father, Anthony, and my father. His father, a Marine. His uncle Pat was in the Navy, played, in fact, football with Roger Staubach. His grandfather was Anu Iwo Jima in World War II in the Pacific, and service in the Shaw family as well. David's father, Willie, on the other side. And that was such a big part for David in his upbringing. Willie was in the Air Force in Vietnam. And David said that the honor, the duty, say what you are going to do and then do it. Do what you say. Part of the lessons that he learned from his dad came from that. And for Sean, I imagine for a lot of folks whose families served in Vietnam and beyond, it's in some ways, as David told us, it can be a tough time of year because Dad is remembering all those people, and I'm sure for all our veterans, that's a sobering part of the thank yous and the appreciation. Herbert on 2nd and 9. They'll just step out of bounds. And just to put a cap on that, a flag comes in, he gets hit late. Alameen Murphy, 23.
After the play was over, personal foul, late hit, defense number 23. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
I think he knew it right away.
He was hoping that maybe if I help him up really quickly, they won't throw the flag.
But just to put a cap on our thank you, and we could go forever, I'm sure, but Steve Kovac, the line judge, as well as a replay official today, Jim Fogeltans, both served in the Navy as well.
Ball start. Offense number 76. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Jake Pisarcik, junior, called for that one. But David Shaw told us in talking about his team, as Herbert yanks it down and picks up a first down inside the 10, will make it 1st and goal. As Oregon tries to get into the end zone here, David Shaw told us this week he really likes the way his team is playing right now.
Understandably so. You think about what could have been for Stanford this season. I mean, think about the back-to-back games against the teams in the state of Washington where they were just so banged up.
Oregon, Kenai Benoit into the end zone. And a chance to hit that 20 marker.
It's a nice cutback here from Benoit. Pisarcik pulls around, knocks off a couple of defenders. Benoit shows some vision.
Morris Freeman, a tap on the head. Freeman has 1 touchdown in this game. Munt has the other for Oregon. And here's Schneider, who missed a field goal just before the half. And so for 40 straight games, Oregon has hit 20 points. That's the longest streak in the nation, but it's not nearly enough on this afternoon in Eugene. So many great candidates for the Heisman Trophy in recent memory here between these two teams. Of course, LaMichael James, Andrew Luck, Marcus broke through, Christian McCaffrey. And I still am waiting for them to bring it back and say, you know what, you go for over 3,000, we'll give you the trophy later. Take a look at our Nissan Heisman watch. What do you see this year, Anthony?
I see Jake Browning easing his way more and more into the national discussion. We got to remember, it was around this time last season, Christian McCaffrey got more notice for how he was performing. But Donnell Pumphrey, to me, still in the mix. Jabril Peppers, big game coming up later tonight against Iowa. But the leader, as it sits right now, Lamar Jackson, hands down. Go ahead and buy him a plane ticket. It's going to take a lot for someone to overtake him at this point.
Christian McCaffrey coming in today at a hair under 3,300 career rushing yards. He went over that. And his offense will come back on the field. But first, let's go back to San Francisco with Greg Wolf for an update.
Get him, Wolf.
All right. Thanks, Greg. Get him, Anthony.
Yes.
He was ready for that one. All right, so that'll be the day for Keller Christ. Ryan Burns, who, of course, started the season. Last started against Washington State the first day of October. Will return. Started the first 6 games of this year. Was a, as you see there, just a 62.5% passer.
He's going to be a 100% handoffer, I think, for the rest of this game.
And he starts 1 for 1. And it's Scarlett who's been getting carries here as this game has gone on. Maybe got the face mask yanked, but a pickup of 5. Manu on the tackle. Okay. So, go ahead. Excuse me, Anthony. No, it's you. You go.
You're good. No, when you think back to Kevin Hogan, early in his career, he started as a freshman, not the day one starter. Nunez was there, and Kevin Hogan had to overtake him as they went through that season. And Kevin Hogan wasn't fully developed as a passer at that point. He was sort of the athletic, nimble, chain mover who made a lot of the right decisions pre-snap at the line of scrimmage. Now we're seeing quarterbacks taking over for Kevin Hogan who are in a similar space in their development right now. The passing game for the Cardinals, David Shaw, will say it first amongst anyone else, leading the game with their ground attack. Their offensive line is when they're at their best. But to be able to efficiently pass the football, pick up chunk plays, take advantage of what the defense gives them, that's what can really turn them back into a championship program. And so these are quality reps, and we're seeing Stanford start to finish this season very strongly.
Scarlett again, after working for the first down, battles back past the line of scrimmage and churns his way for 3 or 4. And that was one thing interesting, asking David Shaw what he loves about this team, this 2016-2017 team, what it means to him. He said pride. He said, people think that coming into the game, they're 6-3, we're 4-3, we're not going to win the North. People think that we should be down. He said, we have great energy. There's nothing down about us.
And you've seen him in practice multiple times lately, right?
Yeah, and he the last time was Wednesday, and he said, well, great practice, wasn't it? He was fired up about it. The day-to-day process, they found a way to really love. 5 on the play clock on 2nd and 6. Scarlett again. Those of you watching on the Pac-12 Network, stay tuned after the game. Greg Wolf, Nick Galliotti, Ronnie Lott, Eric Allen, back in the studio. The Sonic post-game report, full highlights, analysis of this game, press conferences, and can Colorado make the college football playoff? What might that path look like? It has to take a look at it. It's coming up. Here's a 3rd and 3. Stand and let this play clock bleed a little more. Burns will snap it with 3. Now he's going to throw, and he throws it too high. Incomplete, intended for Donald Stewart, who has 1 catch. But one thing David Shaw said, back to, you mentioned how much he's enjoying the practice. It's one thing that defines his team is a quote that Coach Shaw loves. He says, your love for your teammates can be measured by the distance between you and where you're supposed to be.
I love that.
Originally, it was a defensive quote, the distance between you and the ball, but he's adapted it for the whole team. Out of bounds for Mitchell. And Oregon back on offense, the faithful staying that way. What is still ahead? Much to be decided here in the North. Jake Browning and Washington Luke Falk and Washington State on a collision course for the Apple Cup, November 25th on the Palouse. And the question is, will both of them still be unbeaten in the conference when they get there? We take a look at the Wendy's Pac-12 standings. Both at 6-0 in the North. And we mentioned, Anthony, this game, Stanford Oregon has decided the North every year since expansion in 2011, and that's not going to be the case in 2016. It's Herbert Air Mails at first down throw.
As we think back to what could have been for Stanford, I mean, the first 7 games of the Cardinals schedule this season, as tough as anyone in the country. The schedule sort of downhill from there, but those back-to-back games they played against Washington and Washington State, they were without Francis Owusu, Elijah Holder, Quentin Meeks, Daniel Marks, the fullback. I mean, there were so many of their key players out of the lineup. Doesn't mean they automatically would have won those games, no, but that was a key stretch in their season in the North Division. And, you know, the game control for both of the other teams, Washington and Washington State, was just off the charts from what you were used to seeing someone do against Stanford. As you referenced, the energy, the process, the focus of David Shaw and this program, they've been able to continue building on that. And think back to last season, Washington, remember the Huskies, that hot finish that they had at the end of 2015, that catapulted them into this season's success.
On a 3rd and 5, Dylan Mitchell again near the stick. It's be very close. Only 3 games Stanford been held under 100 yards rushing. Colorado, and then the other 2 you mentioned, Washington State and Washington. You think about that defense, they held this running game to 29 yards. Washington's done a lot of impressive stuff, but that's going to be at the top of the list.
Yeah. And this offensive line got manhandled in that game. There's no doubt about it, both in the run game and in trying to protect the quarterback.
4th and inches. Benoit just had the touchdown. Picks up a first down to move the chains near 4 minutes. The bar is so high for both of these programs. For Stanford specifically, they've hit the 11 win mark in 4 out of the last 5. That's not possible this year, but 10 is. And finish this one off, win the last 2 of the regular season, win a bowl game. I think it'd be pretty great story of, I think redemption's too strong of a word, but a team that the expectations were high, didn't go like they expected. Not only the expectations, the ranking. I mean, they were delivering and did not get discouraged by that at all, to the point that David Shaw was, again, gushing this week about the pride that this team has, the way they compete.
It's a team that had been to 3 out of the last 4 Rose Bowls. That won't be their path in finishing the season this year. But Stanford came into the game bowl eligible. Of course, this was a game that Oregon was hoping would give them the opportunity to still have a mathematical chance to get to bowl eligibility. Now, there's 8,700 bowl games, so who knows, maybe if they get to 5 wins, there still could be a chance. So whether or not it truly eliminates them is a bit nebulous, but certainly giving themselves no guarantees with another loss here.
At minimum, you could say it put them at 4-7, and then getting to 500 would be out of the picture. Benoit again, and to the point, the way this game has played out, this series has played out. The other similarity here in the North, Christian McCaffrey still very much into this game. The other similarity, or potential similarity, would be that both Washington and Washington State have a landmine or 2 before they meet. UW with USC. Washington State plays at Colorado next week. Nearly another interception. Would have been the 5th turnover of the game for Oregon. And Brandon Simmons nearly got this one. But the team that's been higher ranked in these 2 meetings, right? You think back, Stanford, Oregon, going back to 2009, neither Neither one's been unranked. This is the first time we've had that. But at least one of them's been top 7 every year back to 09. There's a slide and not a late hit. Jordan Perez trying to pull up, couldn't. So one of these two teams has been top 7 when they meet since 09. That's the short version. The point being, you look at Washington going to Washington State. The lower ranked team in this meeting in the last 7 has won 5. So the question is, does Washington State, if UW gets there unbeaten, or if, as you said, Anthony, they're a one-loss team with a chance still to get in, does Washington State have the juice to make the Apple Cup look like what this matchup's been for so many years?
For me, Guy, I'm so big on the mental and emotional part of football. If Washington gets beat by USC later today, I feel better and more confident, you know, depending on how the game looks and all that. But let's say they play well and USC defeats them. I feel better about the thought that Washington would win out from there, as opposed to the pressure, the intangibles ramping up week by week. If they do win, they stay in the top 4, they're undefeated, and the eye of the tiger is with the opponent every week.
Herbert on 4th down and 6, lofting it over Simmons, and that is a touchdown. Charles Nelson into the end zone for the Ducks. That's his 5th touchdown of the year.
A pretty pass.
42 yards.
Well, they're understandably very comfortable with Justin Herbert operating from within the pocket. Charles Nelson, very fast. There's a nice quick gait that gets him in and out of his cuts at a high level of frequency.
Schneider, the most accurate kicker in Oregon's program's history.
Just a really pretty ball that was thrown here from Justin Herbert and Charles Nelson. Watch it as it comes in there, right into your living room. Joe Sonnenberg, Jeremy Brown been doing a great job for us all throughout the season. These super modes just giving us, capturing the more dramatic moments in the game of football. I don't know if there's another sport that looks as dramatic in super slow-mo as football does.
Yeah. So this has been all Stanford for most of this game. There is more football coming up here on the Pac-12 Network. Oregon State and UCLA. That's at 6 o'clock Pacific. And also on the Pac-12 Now app.
Well, speaking of another what could have been story, UCLA, very highly regarded. They were the pick in the South Division by most people during the preseason.
Lost 5 of 6 now. Have the Bruins. It's 2-2 at home. Oregon State knew it would be another year to rebuild. As Jay Tyler takes a knee, take a look at the teams that have fallen out of the top 25, ranked there before the season, now not only not in it, but also with losing records. 10, 11, and 12. What's gone on with Michigan State this year has been eye-opening.
Oregon had finished in the final AP poll the last 9 years coming into this season. Alabama's only been in the last 8 years. Certainly surprising results for the Ducks. So you factor everything in, your quarterback and your system, new defensive coordinator, very young players, and all the injuries that the Ducks have had. You know, to be able to restart, rebuild certainly wouldn't be the proper term, but there was moments this season where they needed to try to jumpstart the program.
Pat McFadden had that carry.
Clemson's been upset. Now yet another team with a defeat.
Pitt got him. 42. All right. So on alert.
Well, it's just another ingredient. So many folks tend to assume that all these teams, just because they go in as a favorite, will finish the season undefeated. That's not what tends to happen in major college football.
So, for all intents and purposes, a bowl game goes by the wayside for Oregon now with this loss. As Anthony mentioned, barring a 5-win team getting in, that would effectively end their chances of making a bowl game. It's been over a decade since that happened. On the winning side, Lewis with David Shaw.
All right, guys, thanks very much. Well, Coach, the importance of coming on the road to get this league game. You get to 5-3 with one league game to go next week at Cal.
Well, you know, it was about coming up here and playing in a hostile environment and try to play our best football. Challenge the team offensively to throw the ball better, protect better. Still had a couple of rough downs, but we played better. Challenged Keller to play just like he knows he's capable of playing. He had a really good game for us. And we need our guys to make plays. We had our receivers go out, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Michael Rector, guys went out there and make plays.
So speaking of Keller, how did he advance his game today as you guys look toward the end of the season?
Well, the biggest thing is it's not the talent that's there. It's about getting comfortable. You know, and people can have whatever expectations they want. This is game 3 for him. Now, he played early, but this is game 3 as a full-time starter, and I thought he's made progress every week, and especially today, I thought he played really well.
And then the explosive plays will be highlights throughout the weekend. I mean, having Christian McCaffrey in your back pocket, what is that like?
You know, first of all, he's one of the best players in the nation. Now that he's finally healthy and feeling great, we're playing well up front. He's dangerous every time he touches the ball. And you combine that with Bryce Love and Michael Rector and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Our tight ends played well today. It's a fun group to coach.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Guy?
Thanks, Lewis. What'd you think today, Anthony?
One of the things that always impressed me with this program, and it was on display today, there's a level of humility that they execute with Christian McCaffrey not always looking for the big play, but comes up with the splash moment time and time again. Same thing applies on defense.
52-27 for our entire crew. Anthony Herron, Lewis Johnson, our producer Michael Molinari, our director Scott Barkey, Mr. Everything up here in the booth, Sam Polis. This is Guy Haberman saying so long from Eugene. We send you to San Francisco for the Sonic postgame report.